Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody from all around the world, hello and welcome to another episode of The Watchable with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch, where we talk about anything and everything in the world of boxing and beyond, and we enjoy you with us on our show today. Make some noise, clap it up, get excited, wherever you are. We're back, we're here, we're live, and we're ready to give you all the best in sports entertainment throughout the world of boxing and beyond. We got to talk about Rico versus Usyk happening over the weekend. The announcement, he's got 3 fights left in his career, including the fight with Rico Verhoeven. And who will those next 2 be, with the shakeup with Wardley and Dubois, as well as with the potential final opponent? Will it be Anthony Joshua? Will it be Tyson Fury? Or will it be an unknown, a unsung threat like Moses Atama that may just be the man to have the final crack at the king when it comes to the world of the heavyweight division? All of that plus Devin Haney, talking about who's the biggest step for Devin Haney, currently at 147, with the new avenue of Keyshawn Davis being seemingly, hopefully, prayerfully at this division wholeheartedly. Does this change the landscape for who it should be seen as the biggest man to beat the man at 147, which right now is Devin Haney? All of that and so much more we're going to be talking about on today. We're going to be talking about the card. We're going to be breaking down the events of what's going to happen over the weekend on Saturday, like Richard Torres versus Sanchez. I do want to get into that fight specifically and so much more on our show today. We appreciate you being here. And if it's your first time here, hey, welcome aboard. I'm Jean-Luc Welch. This is the Welch Report. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That's right. Come be a part of our empire. Come join our community. Be a part of the hottest show in all of the globe, right here on YouTube and on every podcasting platform imaginable. Apple, Spotify, you name it, we are there. Please rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, and listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, so you can have us on the go wherever you may be, and you can always have our voices in your ear listening to the best in sports entertainment. And please be sure to leave a like on this stream if you have not already. One like makes a world of difference for our show to help us go and reach the masses all across the globe. Hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube, and do the 2 most important things, which are, if you can't support the channel monetarily, hey, we got Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, super chats, super gifts, stickers, and the like galore, all for your useful usage. If you can afford to give to the show, we're funded by viewers like you, and if you like what you're hearing and you want to keep it going, hey, we would appreciate it if you can give some alms to the empire. Helps me to pay the bills, and helps us to invest into the show to make it bigger, better, and stronger for your viewing and listening pleasure. And please be sure, the last most important thing, share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together. All with you and your support, we can make this thing into the hottest commodity imaginable all throughout the social media landscape. And we appreciate you being here, and just enjoy your time, enjoy your company. Put your chats in the comment section. Let's see what you got to say. And we got boxing to cover, we got sports to dive into. We ain't got long, so we're gonna make sure we do this right. So ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk boxing, it's time to talk sports, and it's time to step into the ring. Yes sir, let's get it started. Come on, let's go. It's time to work, and it's time to shine. Let's already read. We already have people in the chat. So let's acknowledge those chatting in the comment section, like Matt Borgensen. How you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on our stream. Ryan from the 6. Also, we thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you being on our live stream today. Health and health to you and yours as well. Salute to everybody in the chat and who's just listening all around the globe. Also, hold on, Matt. I didn't get to read all your chats. My gosh, what's happening? Wait a minute. Hold on. You got some news? Wait a second, brother. Hold up a minute. Oh, wait. Oh. What's happening? It feels like we may need to break something before what's going on. Let me see. This weekend's fights are incredibly boring and uninteresting. Honestly, the Hamzat Shiraz fight might be the more of a gimmick than the Rico fight. Absolutely terrible, shameful. It's getting glazed. Now, granted, I'm not fully invested in this card as well. Be perfectly clear. I'm not. I don't care about this card. However, okay, I thought I saw something. However, it does need to be talked about just because of the next steps in Usyk's career of the next 2 fights that he's going to have. Because as we see in the thumbnail, he just said he's got 3 fights, including this Rico fight. After this, it is 2 fights, and then I'm out. 3 fights in total. Who's going to be the next two opponents, and what can we see the legacy left behind by Usyk be by the time these next 2 fights, if and when he beats Rico, commences, and who can be these next 2 opponents? But let me keep on reading. Now, the boxing UK scene is treated like a competitive fight. It's treated like a competitive fight. The guy is literally less than a journeyman, and he's getting a title for it. Again, trust me, we're going to be talking about that on this show, absolutely. This Aleem, I think it's Begic. I believe how you say his name. Has never fought outside of the country. Never had even a title in his own country. And at least Rico won a world heavyweight title in an organization. LMAO. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, we're gonna be addressing a lot of the card. We're gonna be going through the card as well, and kind of. I'm not gonna say absurdity, but kind of the lackluster appeal. And we're gonna try to make this exciting. By discussing the actual exciting elements of the future and outside of these specific fights, what comes after this card that we do want to see. Let me see. Little Torres got a chance to get a title shot. Jack and Gilsov fight will force Willie to get off the shelf. Couple of fights made the card. Yeah, see, those were the ones I was gonna focus on. Outside of the Usyk main event, just to say what's next after this. Yeah. Torres, Sanchez, I wanted to address that. We got a whole segment for that. And Catterall as well versus Gilsov to potentially finally get the movement of 147 really up and running and get Rolly to actually take a fight. We're going to, again, y'all have beat me to the punch. Look, y'all can't be looking at my notes, y'all. Hey, brother, I got to have some level of secrecy. Y'all can't. Y'all can't just take my shine. But look, all this we're going to be talking about. Absolutely. But let me see. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Matt. Lomachenko versus Navarrete closing in the green. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Time out. Break everything. Hold on a minute. Time out. Wait 1 minute. Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. Nah. This ain't real. This isn't real, is it? Now, this is real. This takes the cake over everything else I even wanted to talk about today. Like I said, on this show, if you're new here, we go with the flow of the audience. Oh, we got an agenda. We're going to still touch on topics, but lo and behold, if something comes on that we need to discuss, we're going to discuss it. And doggone it, this may be something that needs to discuss. Matt, when did you hear this and where did this happen? Is this on social media? Is this real? I'm serious. Is this real? Is this real? Is Lomachenko coming back against Emmanuel Navarrete? My gosh, are you serious? I thought the conversation was initially Tank, potentially Shakur, but Keyshawn Davis had called him out. Abdullah Mason was in the running at 135 as a champion. Potentially maybe Floyd Schofield, even though Floyd Schofield I think is in talks with fighting somebody else, if I do remember correctly. I can't remember if stuff was agreed upon fully. I did not think the biggest aspect of fight that could happen would be Lomachenko versus Navarrete. I thought the most likely situation that was seen as the most momentum, at least from the fans, was Lomachenko versus Tank. And a layoff versus layoff type of fight. Both fighters have been out the ring for, I think, over 2 years, or at least over a year and a half at minimum. I know Lomachenko retired, I think, 2 years ago. And now we see it's a retirement to get out of his contract. So I'm saying, wait a minute, hold on a second. When did Navarrete get into play? And if so, brother, that's who Lomachenko wants to come back in his first fight in 2 years against that monster, that monster of a machine. And Navarrete, if that's real, oh my gosh, that is ridiculous. And this shows you even more Lomachenko don't duck no smoke. It showed you. This brother does not duck smoke at all. This brother, oh my goodness. This is insane. I'm sorry. Again, we're breaking news, potentially for those of you just tuning in. Yeah, we're still going to talk about the topic, but we just got word of a tip that potentially, if Navarrete, Lomachenko, they in some serious talks with each other. And we can see that fight as the first returning fight for Lomachenko back into the world of boxing amongst all the buzz and noise of the potential prospects of competition that we could see him in. Let me see, one comeback, then a fight with Navarrete at 130 is more likely. I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. And let me see, Ryan from the 6. Navarrete then possibly Tank or Shakur. And I don't know if it's gonna be he takes a tune-up fight. Legitimately, and I'll get into why after I finish reading you all the chat. He's going to be debuting at 130 with top rank. Also, both fighters are top ranked fighters, so a deal is very easy. That makes sense. It was just I didn't realize that Navarrete was on the radar with him being at 130, and with Lomachenko 135 looking to name names or seek names at 135 and 140, Abdullah Mason, Tank, Keyshawn, and others around that weight class. I thought that would be the more likelihood situation. Shakur even would be a name that I thought was on the higher docket of competition because of I didn't think Lomachenko was going to go back down to 130. Now, with that being the case, I don't know if he's going to take a tune-up fight before the fight with Navarrete if this deal doesn't indeed come through, strictly because this brother's fighting at 130. And if Lomachenko's coming back down, I've said consistently, 1, Lomachenko loves to get in the fire. 2, doesn't duck any smoke. 3, he's one of the greatest technical savants and footwork utilizers I've ever seen in boxing history, living up to the same with the Matrix. And 4, below 135 is where he actually belongs. His physical framework and makeup as a fighter should not be able to be successful up at these higher divisions, the 135, and potentially, if he chooses to, go to 140. 130, 126, 122, those are the actual best weight classes where his frame, his build is not undersized in the same way that he's been fighting and punching above his weight ever since he became 135-pound champion, nearly became undisputed. Arguably should have already been undisputed. Well, that's a whole other conversation with the whole undisputed title situation. Either way, the dominance that he's displayed at this division is uncommon. At 130, this and below, this man's a killer. He may not need a tune-up if he's fighting back where he belongs against the likes of Navarrete. Now, this is going to be, again, if this is the fight with Navarrete, brother, you better, if this is what's on the line for you, you a bad man. But this, as much of a monster as you are, with your awkwardness, you're going up against an equally dangerous monster in the framework of impossible Rubik's Cube ability. It legitimately. It's going to be a time and a half to see if he can beat that, but the clash of styles becomes so enthralling. It's as absolute chaos versus absolute complexity. That's ridiculous as a fight between two stylistic people that could not be further from each other. Legitimately. Oh my gosh, this is actually happening. This is insane. Let me see. Loma could have been the best 130-pounder ever. He was no Moschenko at 130. Yeah, did he make like 4 people quit? Wasn't it 4 people back to back that he made quit in succession? I think one of them was Rigondeaux, who at that point in time was one of the more he wasn't just a power puncher, but it was a defensive Rubik's Cube in his own right. One of the best defensive fighters of his time during his prime. I think he fought against, didn't he fight against Flash, Nonito Donaire during that stint of his prime? And he made Flash crazy enough look foolish because he was so sleek and so evasive in a sense that he was looking like arguably the best defensive fighter in the world at that point in time that also carried some pop. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. See, and it was Rigondeaux who just gets that was right after. Good gosh, that was right. I didn't know that fight was right after Donaire. I thought Donaire was maybe 2 fights before the fight with Lomachenko. I didn't know that was directly after that performance. That then he went and made him quit. Again, that speaks to the essence of near perfection that Lomachenko was at his prime. That coming back, oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, that's insane. That would be great. Let me see. He stopped Nico Walters too. Like he's a menace. Lomachenko at 130 is a menace, and at 130, he may not need to tune up. He may need strictly because that's within his prime abode. Now, that does not mean I don't want a tune-up fight. Be clear. Me saying, in fact, hold on, but since this is such a legitimate topic, let me actually make this its own title card by itself, so we can actually have this as a full blown titled card. We're just gonna label it Loma Comeback. Just make it. We're just gonna keep it simple. Like I said, we're still talking Devin Haney. We're still talking the competitiveness at 147. We're still gonna talk about the Usyk card of versus Rico Verhoeven and the bigger fights of that night. We are not straying away from what our show is going to be. This is just something that we do need to discuss with Lomachenko and potentially Navarrete getting in the ring with each other. But the most opportune time may be this year. As in, we could see a deal done by this year. And we could see a fight at 130, potentially for Navarrete's title, with Lomachenko in his first fight back. This is a big deal. It's a huge deal. This is major, if this is real. And that's why we're taking some time to talk about this, just so you all know. The thumbnail's still going to be discussed. Trust me, I'm not doing clickbait. We are going to talk about this stuff. But with Loma coming back, he may not take a tune-up at 130 because that's where he's at his best. And he may just feel like, yeah, I've been training this entire time while I've been away from the sport, waiting out my contract to become a free agent. And boom, I'm set. I'm good. Let's run it. I'm all ready. Now that runs to the whole situation of how much has he lost with time away? How much has his body still been able to retain? Is this a Jamal? Is this the same concern that we just have like we have with Charlo or El Spence, where long layoffs can lead to potentially you're never the same, Keith Thurman and others? Or is it a should we actually buy into this man can come back straight on and look just like he never left? The skepticism should still be there. I still would like him to take a tune-up, even though I can see a reality where he would just say, I'm jumping into the deep end. Because this is Lomachenko that we're talking about. But we got a title in his fourth fight ever fourth or fifth fight as a professional, which is insane to actually think about, but it's the truth. But if he does take a tune-up, perfect. That tune-up could actually be somebody that still is at least respectable in his threat. But if he shows up and shows out, ooh-wee, this could be something incredible. And the bigger thing about this, beyond just the comeback and beyond just the fight and the clash of styles that we could see and the, again, ultimate chaos versus ultimate complexity when it comes to Lomachenko versus Navarrete, a fight that I wouldn't be surprised if somebody got knocked out. Who would it be? It could be a toss-up because of the amount of violence that could be incurred on both fronts. When it comes to Loma with his stepping around you, punching, and where you can't see him, throwing up volleys of shots, having deceptively heavy hands, even though he's only a 130-pounder at this division. Again, he was a KO nightmare. Not just putting people to sleep, but again, making them quit because he was like, I can't. I literally am so demoralized. And then Navarrete with the most awkward, unpredictable style in boxing today, being able to hit you from across the ring, keeping up a pace and pressure and a stamina that has broken down some of the most warrior-driven fighters that we've seen. He's so physically dominant that he is able to burst through any technical wall that you can put up using your skill because he's just that imposing of a force to be reckoned with. He doesn't need the skills to go and take you out because he just wants to dog it out. And even while dogging it out, he has actually learned to box in the process and taking care of his body. He's actually being fit. He's not just eating whatever. He's got a nutritionist. He's got better stamina. He's always had stamina, but he's even better with his motor. And this cat is getting better defensively, which is crazy because you should just be able to eat shots. He still can eat shots, but now he's actually defending. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? The propensity of that fight is ridiculous. But what could be bigger is what can come after. And I'm not trying to go and step too far into the future. We understand. We know everything still has to take time. The deal ain't even done wholeheartedly. So we got to wait and find out. We understand. I understand. I'm just simply skepticism. That's all this is. Skepticism, and y'all, we trying to make a show that's entertaining. Let's paint a picture of what can come down the line. Because of this type of framework, and because of the potential that we could see Lomachenko come back, fight Nevarrete, win a world title, early coming back into the ring in 1 or 2 fights, depending on if he takes a tune-up or not, all of a sudden, Loma's back at the top of the mountain. You got matchups like Usyk Foster, Raymond Ford. You got matchups all throughout at 130. And potentially, you can bring people back down from a higher weight class to go and fight you because of the name and weight that Lomachenko would bring. Specifically, Gervonta Davis. Now, that sounds crazy, I know. I know some of y'all are saying, oh my gosh, he turned it into a tank conversation. Oh Lord, we don't care about this brother. Oh my goodness, here we go again. How dare you? I know some of the rhetoric. I understand. This is not a tank show. This is a sports show that happens to have tank as a conversation topic. Does that mean that we don't focus on him? Trust me, we don't. What we do need to recognize, though, is that Tank as well, looking for a bag, looks for fights that may be easier. And if Lomachenko's fighting below 130, and Tank, he may not be privy to move up to a weight class, but it could be. He may be willing to move back down to fight against Loma. Though it would be where Loma would feasibly be at his best at 130 pounds. Maybe a catchweight. Or just outright, he calls him out, and now you get a fight at 135 for Tank's WBA title. Hypothetically. This could still lead to the run. This is still a huge fight. But the even bigger names amongst the docket of competition that Loma has been talked about in since he announced that he's coming back, all of that could still be there and be even more prevalent. And so it can get exciting. It can get really exciting out here. So this is very interesting. I'm enthralled with this whole conversation. My goodness, I did not know that this was happening. Thank you, Matt Borges, for letting me know about this. Because, brother, I was completely aloof to any of these happenings. I was completely thrown off when y'all broke this news. I'm dead serious. That was new. Shoot. That's all I can say. If this is real and this just come down, that it actually happens, my goodness. I mean, can this year get any better? T.O. versus Shakur. Most of the time, I'm almost getting in position of a world title opportunity. Keyshawn Davis moving up to 147 to potentially fight Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia 1 or 2 fights away from getting in the ring with the likes of Devin Haney as well. He already getting his world title chance against the likes of Mario Barrios, beating him, knocking him down, and winning him for 12 rounds. We just had a super fight, the biggest fight in Japanese history, and the 4th biggest fight in boxing history, statistically, when it comes to revenue, with Inoue versus Nakatani. We got stuff galore going all over the world. This is insane currently on the landscape of boxing. This can only get better. My gosh, it can only get better. But sadly, we have to move on. We have to transition. We're going to come back to the Loma conversation of who he can win, what he can do, and if he will stay potentially at 130. If he does beat Nevarrete, potentially to go fight Usyk Foster and others. If this is real that he's going down for Nevarrete's title. But we're going to discuss that later, and we will come back to that. But right now, we had to go and cover the card happening over the weekend with Usyk versus Rico Verhoeven, and going and talking about the 3 fights left. Is this it? And running down the rest of the card as a whole. So we're going to say, it's not the most exciting thing. We understand, but there's still some tidbits of real analytical work that we can discuss, even with a card that seems kind of lackluster. And we'll start with the main event of the night. Usyk versus Rico Verhoeven. In a fight crazy enough, in a fight that has been sanctioned by the IBF and every other sanctioning body as a legit unified title, where all the belts are on the line. Yet again, I believe all the belts are on the line. At least one of the belts. Something can change hands. Legitimately in the world title. With this fight between one of the greatest glory kickboxers we've ever seen, completely understandable. But a 1-0 record in boxing as a legit contender. Not even a contender, he fought against a literal terrible jobber. With no disrespect, but that's just the opponent. He was a bump. And in the world of this level of true essence in boxing. And then on the flip side, you got Usyk, undefeated, 2-time undisputed, currently the baddest man on the planet, as number 1 and number 2 ranked in the world, in my opinion, the second best boxer in the world, and definitively the best heavyweight of this generation outright. Now this is looked like at a spectacle, as a farce, and the one give me fight that we can see Usyk have in his career, which we know he's been through the ringer. He knocked out Dubois twice. He went through and beat Anthony Joshua twice. He went and beat Tyson Fury twice. He's beaten Derek Chisora, Dillian White. He's ran through the entirety of the heavyweight division. Every single reputable name he's gone through. Was going to even fight Deontay Wilder. I would have taken Deontay Wilder over this fight 10 times over if we could actually make it happen. I'll be completely honest, but that's neither here nor there. The biggest thing about it all is that how is this fight going to go? Well, he's going to knock him out. The question is, how fast is he going to do it? That's the question. How fast is it going to happen? And I would predict it's going to happen in 4 rounds. I would predict it's going to happen in 4. And that's only because Usyk may try to have some fun and play around. Usyk may try to have some fun and carry Rico Verhoeven and do some dance, do some fun, have a little bit of jawing action, him posturing, both of them taunting at each other. It seems like a friendly fade between the two. Yeah, Rico still wants to shock the world and gain a heavyweight title, but even still, it's going to be, there's going to be a sense of, I don't want to say it's not gonna be a farce, because the title is on the line. This is a real fight. Usyk does have something to lose, and we're gonna talk about what he can lose if he does lose this fight. No question about that. But the whole of this pie is gonna be a little bit fun, and then pick up the pace. Okay, it's time to end you, type of thing. Usyk being one of the better punchers in this division. Mind you, he is not just a boxer. He is not just a skillful fighter. This man is one of the heavier hands that this division has to offer. Knocking out Daniel Dubois, being able to rock Tyson Fury across the ring, and one of the worst instances of out on your feet I've ever seen Fury be in, outside of being against Deontay Wilder, which is saying something. This man he ain't a light puncher. He can rock him, hurt him, catch him, and put that brother out in a bad way. And he will. He absolutely will. And it should be after round 4, or in round 4, all right, fun's over. It's time for me to move on and get stuff going. I got other fights I need to do, and I'm not going to let you have an opportunity to get the upset. I guarantee you, this is the very essence of Fury versus Ngannou. Still is in the minds of not just a lot of fans, but of Usyk himself. Because that fight was going to happen before he fought against Usyk the first time. Tyson Fury didn't take Ngannou seriously, but it came in out of shape, overweight, and still he should have beaten Ngannou easily. Next thing you know, we're saying Ngannou got robbed, and he should be, or should have been at that point in time, the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. And having to be the first man to defeat Fury. It should have been him watching that fight over. I've said that every instance I can. It wasn't the best version of Tyson Fury. It didn't matter. You should have been able to beat him, and you didn't. He should have lost that fight. Usyk does not want to have that repeat performance, especially if he's got fights down the line like Tyson Fury, like a rematch with Anthony Joshua hypothetically, or like with Fabio Wardley that he wants to take hold and have a chance to go and face, with the belts being around his weights. So it's going to need to be, there ain't no messing around. You got more to lose, because this time it actually is the world titles, the full world, not just the lineal, the full world championship is on the line. And so, he's not going to take it lightly. And he should not take it lightly. So we're going to see him knock him out in 4 rounds, most likely. However, and this is a big however, I mean, it's a huge however. If we see Usyk lose this fight, if we see him lose, again, like I said, we're just covering the main event and the bigger fights that are happening over the weekend, because it's not as entertaining from the standpoint of a matchup standpoint with all of this card over in Egypt. But even still, this is something that does need to be talked about. If we see Usyk lose and we see him relinquish his titles at heavyweight to a man who is 1-0 in boxing and has never faced this caliber of competition, this will be the biggest upset that we have ever seen, not just in boxing history, but in sports history. Straight up. And again, we did cover this a little bit on Tuesday, but we didn't really understand, or rather, I didn't really delve into the severity of this. Many people were putting Usyk in the top 10, or at least around the top 10, for all-time heavyweights that we've seen in boxing as a whole. We're talking with Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson. We're talking with Archie Moore. Archie Moore was a heavyweight. Light heavyweight turned into a heavyweight. George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Joe Louis. Oh, there's a lot of Joes, crazy enough. But even still, that conversation of, is Usyk top 10, top 15 in the history of heavyweight boxing? Well, if he loses this fight, all of those notions get wiped away. Everything gets wiped away. The career is still the career. The legacy is still the legacy. But that one loss would wipe him out of any relative conversations of that level of greatness. And I can understand why. Because this will be a bigger upset than Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson. Mind you, Buster Douglas at least had some fights. Buster Douglas at least was a full-time boxer. Buster Douglas, even though that brother wasn't able to keep himself going like he should have and got knocked out clean by a focused Evander Holyfield. And it was a similar situation that AJ had with Andy Ruiz, where Tyson had knocked down Buster Douglas and was on his way seemingly to knock out Buster Douglas. But again, the cocaine, the drugs, the outside lifestyle, having different women every night, going through and losing himself to the fame and the sport, especially with the loss of Customato and all that stuff, took his toll. He was in his prime, but mentally, that's the fight where he fully left and gone. Boom. The unbeatable got beat. That's all another topic for what Mike Tyson would have been if he had never had those vices. But we can discuss that later. Either way, at least that was propelled by, this is an actual full-time boxer that is in this position to potentially get a shot at a title, even though this fight was supposed to be a tune-up for Evander Holyfield as the mega fight that was wanting to be made. He was there that night. It was going to happen after that night. But sadly it didn't. Now we get to today. Usyk, Rico, fight before another fight, has an opportunity to go and continue his reign of dominance when he looks unstoppable. If he loses this is worse than Tyson. This is worse than AJ. This is worse than McGregor beating Mayweather. Because at least McGregor was in such a zeitgeist amongst the people and populace, it was seen as feasible and believable. Maybe this can actually happen. This just ain't one of those situations. And Usyk and the sport itself would take a hit from a lot of casual fans and just the identity of the boxing world as a whole if he lost this fight. Because it would be like, what the world? We get it. Everybody has a puncher's chance. Anybody can land something at any given time. We understand. But like, this should be a non-negotiable. A lot of times it shouldn't be happening. But if we lose this fight, the ramifications go beyond just the ripples of this sport or of this career, but the sports world as a whole would take a hit. It would. The validity of the world champions going below. Not going below. The validity of any world champions during and after Usyk would take a major blow. Right now, guess who's being talked about as we want to, or guess who's calling out who in another crossover situation? Ryan Garcia, Ilya Tapora. are starting to jaw at each other, saying, "Brother, I will knock you out." Ilya saying, "I'll knock out Ryan Garcia." Ryan Garcia saying, I'll make you eat through a straw for the rest of your life. This is the type, again, these types of fights, all of a sudden will be like, oh, maybe it's not that much out of the question. If we saw Usyk beat or get beat by Rico, it would lose the cachet of this sport. The specialties deserves the same level of respect. In the grander scheme, not from the sense of a fighter still a fighter. Yeah, fighter will still be a fighter. We don't disrespect that. But the essence of, oh, it's rigged. Oh, this is fake. All those type of noises are going to come even more. And the entertaining of other fighters can come in and do what we see people do in the ring every day. All of a sudden, it's going to be, people are going to say, yeah, make it happen. Sure, go ahead. They're not that good in the first place. Look at what their pound for pound best in the world arguably just got done to him. He got beat by somebody who don't even fight here. But he got beat by a man whose best weapon is his legs, not his hands. And yet y'all want to say that this sport is filled with killers? I'm not saying that's what the reality is. I am saying that's the rhetoric that will start to LARP upon the sport itself. We don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. So, I would hope and pray that Usyk ends this early. Even if Usyk goes 8 rounds with Rico, sure, credit to Rico if he's able to go that long with Usyk, understandable. But, if Rick does go that late, it's going to be like, well, shoot. Have we been looking at this brother the wrong way? And the career in retrospect was going to be like, well, people may try to misconstrue how good the other people that Usyk fought actually were. Because maybe it wasn't that hard to go 12 rounds with Usyk. If this guy was able to almost get there with 9 or 8, maybe Dubois isn't that tough. If this guy was able to last in the ring longer than him, maybe Anthony Joshua really ain't that good. If Rico was able to survive 8, 9 rounds with him, you're way better than Rico, and you couldn't beat him and you were able to go 12? You lasted that long? What the world? I'm telling you what the sycophants and the people that not just always want to have something to say, but the shifting landscape that more people will buy into those negative connotations that people are going to say because of what they see. I don't want that to happen. So I would need Usyk to knock out Rico quick and in a hurry. Please do. Get this over with. Get it done. I don't want to be entertained. I don't want to be enthralled. I don't want to be shocked by the skill of Rico. I want him put down within 4 rounds so that we can move on and go to what's next for this man, which could be Daniel Dubois or Tyson Fury. One of those two. Hopefully, after Tyson Fury, after AJ, if he beats AJ, he can get a shot at Usyk and Usyk with a the Usyk versus Daniel Dubois, because Daniel Dubois beat Fabio Wardley. Even though Wardley activated a rematch, will that happen by the time we get a potential contract signed with Usyk and Dubois? Who knows? Either way, we'll see how it goes. But let me see. How many rounds is it? It's going to be 12. It's 12 rounds. It's a world title fight. This is a 12. This is an actual 12-round fight. It's a world title fight. It's a world title opportunity. It's going all 12 in terms of the rounds are going to be 3 minutes, 12 rounds. And the winner holds up one of the actions, not a makeshift belt. We're not talking WBC type belt where it's just ho-hum. We're not talking a fake title that gets made for Cinco de Mayo or Aztec Week or whatever other culturally relevant day. Not in a negative connotation. Because I love Aztec themed fight week, Viva Mexico, Latino culture. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm talking about Mauricio Suleiman making a belt for every single occasion and trying to pass it off as something legitimate. I hate that. That's what I'm saying. Cinco de Mayo belt, Aztec Week belt, all these other cultural belts that they make for every fight that ain't even for a world title oftentimes. This ain't that situation. This is a legit unified title is on the line. Rico could be the unified heavyweight champion after this and carry the lineage of the 100+ history makeup of heavyweight boxing as the lineal champion. He could be that. It's all the stakes are there. I hate it. I despise it, but it's there. Honestly, Usyk versus Caballero before anything in a perfect world, and that brings us to the second half of this conversation. Usyk versus who? Because after this fight, he's now come out vehemently and said he's got 3 fights left. This fight counting as one of them. This counts as one of the last 3 fights in Usyk's career, per his own words. And so if he does lose, it's done. If he wins, great. He keeps on going. Well, if he loses, he's not done. But like, either way, it's 3 fights, counting this one, and we're out of here. Caballero has been in position to have a world title shot for who knows how long. Will he actually get it? I think he's even in a position to be a mandatory at this point in time. Could he get it? Or would we see Usyk versus Dubois? Depending on if we actually get that rematch with Dubois versus Wardley, that Wardley activated. Because we've seen people activate rematch clauses, but then the rematch doesn't actually happen up until a year or 2 afterwards. Do we even want to see Usyk versus Dubois for a 3rd time after what happened the 2nd time? And if we see what happened in this fight the 3rd time, or we see this fight a 3rd time, with how Dubois looked in the fight with Wardley, he looked like a warrior, and he was able to take the punch, and he fought like the champion that he is. But he's getting beat and knocked out the same way because he hasn't really changed a whole bunch about himself since the fight with Usyk. He still fights like a tank. Come forward, powerful. He's got a really good short jab and a really fluid 1-2 combination. That's the same combination that put out the likes of Wardley standing on his feet. But it doesn't change the fact that this man hasn't changed anything else significantly about his game. And he will lose in the same way. I don't really want to see that for a 3rd time. But it would be, you still want to get you undisputed. So it's like, you still want to get undisputed, but man, I mean, shoot, man. It's a catch-22 in some regards. Let me see. I don't want to see. Well, hold on. Let me see. All it takes once Rico. All it takes is once. I don't care. Floyd from Rico. Look, I don't want none of that. I don't want Rico to get a punch off. I don't want Rico to get one punch off at all. I've seen Rico. If he does get a flurry of combinations off, that's most likely where he's going to get knocked out. Because I've seen that brother knocked out in a volley of fury on the feet. Throwing combinations after having somebody against the ropes in the corner. He tried to throw a volley of shots and the other guy responded in kind. And he got caught with it was like a push straight punch and got put down. And that's most likely what's going to happen. Yeah, Usyk's about to counter Rico. Yeah, yes, he is. We're about to see some of the easiest counters that we've ever seen from Usyk. It's about to be. He's going to counter. Because the one thing about, and here's the bad part about crossing over into other sports. It's very hard to get out of these habits. Dillian White did. Caleb Plant did. We've had other kickboxers do it and other mixed martial artists who came into boxing. They've been able to overcome these habits. But the bad part about being a MMA fighter in a specialty sport, just ask Tyron Woodley. The same habits of what you need to bite at, defend against, and what you need to react to still happen. And so so trained for multi-dimensional offense, kicks and punches that are feint, that looks like what will normally be a kick or a setup for a kick, you block accordingly. Next thing you know, you get caught on the other side of the head because you're still training habitually with the notion of defending as a kickboxer. Tyron Woodley got caught and knocked out because we saw Anderson Silva tap his foot trying to walk in, and there's no kicking involved. And that but a bit hard. And next thing you know, got knocked out with an uppercut. It is not, Tyron Woodley, before that, because of his MMA background, got knocked out by Jake Paul because of the same tendencies of defending in an MMA mindset manner. You can't do that in boxing. If you don't close those holes, you're going to get knocked out. And I guarantee you, Rico's going to bite and defend like he's still in the MMA world. And he's going to get knocked out. Francis Ngannou did the same thing against Anthony Joshua. It wasn't just that AJ was a better fighter. Excuse me. It wasn't just that AJ was a better fighter than the likes of Anthony Joshua. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It wasn't just that AJ was a better fighter than Francis Ngannou. That's the correct way to say it. It was the fact that Francis Ngannou was still defending as if he was in the UFC. And what happened? Instead of coming in and shelling up completely, properly guarding himself, he went back to the Philly shell that would normally guard a kick. And next thing you know, he got blasted straight through and got put out. The first knockdown was because of that. The second knockdown, that was the knockout, or that almost led to a knockout, was because of those same tendencies. And the third one, Ngannou was just out on his feet. And still, the way he showed up was as if there was a kick coming. If you don't get out of those habits, you're going to lose. Especially against this world-class type of level. And that's what's going to happen to Rico. I promise you. I promise you that's what's going to happen to Rico. Look at the fight with Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. The same thing happened. Defensive MMA style when it comes to guarding and blocking doesn't translate well over here. Because it's a different game, it's a different technique, it's a different sharpness, and the windows that were allowed to be open in the MMA and UFC, you can't have open here. But they do it anyway, because that's the thing. And it always bites them in the butt. Nearly. Again, sometimes it's worked, like with Caleb Plant and Dillian White, but oftentimes it doesn't. Oftentimes it really doesn't. But let me keep on reading. Rico was telegraphing and opening up too wide while punching on the mitts during training. You should watch the highlights of Rico. One pro boxing match he had years ago. I think I saw some clips over. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but I think I saw some clips, a compilation of that fight over social media, and I was like, he's getting beat. His striking and combinations in the kickboxing world, Glory Kickboxing, combined with his lethality of his striking with his legs, yes, turned him into one of the greatest we have ever seen in Glory Kickboxing history. I am never disrespecting that. Usyk would die within 2 rounds if he fought against Rico in Rico's domain. But it's the other way around. And your stuff doesn't translate over here. Your straight stand-up work does not translate over here. Because the same setups don't do anything over here. Because you're not baiting out anything else except for these two weapons. It's not going to work. I don't think it's going to work. I really don't think it's going to work the same at all. Let me see. Woodley versus Silva are both opposite spectrums of having a sharp stand-up game that translates well into boxing. Yeah, and like I said, we're not going to spend too much time on this because we do want to make sure we can touch on Richard Torres and the other fights, some of the other fights on the card, as well as Devin Haney conversations, if we can get to it. No, we are going to get to it, but we don't want to spend too much time because we don't want to drag on too much. Try to get the flow of the show going a little bit better. But I do love the interactions, absolutely. And a lot of these conversations we can come back to. But the last thing I will say in terms of Anderson Silva before ending the conversations with Usyk and Rico. Anderson Silva was the only other person that I ever believed if he went straight boxing and never went into the MMA world, he would have been not just a world champion, but a dominant world champion. He probably would have been a Hall of Famer with what he was able to do in the ring if he had never went and fought in the UFC or started his career as a mixed martial artist. He is still one of the greatest we have ever seen from the UFC in history. Arguably number 2 for a lot of people. Number 3, number 2, and number 1. John Jones, Silva, Demetrius Johnson. You can go down wherever you want to rank him. He's up there. And one of the greatest of all time throughout the globe when it came to the history of this sport as we know it. Just MMA as by itself. But if he had never stepped foot into the octagon and just straight up went to the ring, he would have been one of the greatest. I truly believe with his instincts and ability, he would have been one of the greatest middleweights we'd ever seen. I strongly believe that. At least of his era, if he had fought. I do believe that. He definitely had the tools and the uncanny ability of punch perception, elusiveness, and fluidity with punching from not just any direction, but lazy power. And I say lazy power in a good way. I'm talking about he could punch and it doesn't look like, it looks like a noodle arm punch, but it lands with a thud, at least in the UFC. And it was putting people to sleep. I mean, really putting them to sleep. Barely even looking like he just swatted them away. Ridiculous at that point in time in his prime. I would have loved to see him as a boxer for his whole career. That would have been insane. But with Usyk, again, last thing, knock him out, 4 rounds or less. That's what I want to see. We don't want to have any hiccups about the rest of or the damage that could potentially be incurred if he loses this, because I don't see him losing at all. He's going to knock him out. It's going to be, people going to be asking, well, why did this happen? Well, on to the next one type of situation, and hopefully we get him versus, in terms of Usyk versus, probably, if everything bodes true, maybe we'll actually get Caballero to fight him next. If we get that rematch with Dubois versus Wardley first. Hopefully, prayerfully, we actually get that going. But either way, again, we'll discuss that as more the show goes on. But we do want to make sure we keep on transitioning forward. Let me see. For the most part, it's not the standing front. It's not the standing in front of your opponent. As long as that gets those who cross over. Let's go. Hold on. For the most part, it's not standing in front of your opponent too long. That gets those who cross over into boxing. A dog and match. Rico got one kick over. If I see Rico Verhoeven get put in a bad situation and I see this man faint with a right, faint with a jab, and he comes up with a roundhouse or a question mark kick on the back of the head of Usyk, and that's what ends the night. One, that brother should be banned. Be clear, that brother should be banned, number one. But two, that would be one of the, that would be what, it's not funny, but I would die laughing. It's not funny, but I would die laughing if that happened. It's not funny, but it's just the absurdity of it probably would make me die laughing, because that is terrible. Because it's like, yeah, he's not prepared for it. Like he could like ruin his boxing career if that happened, but it's the absurdity of he wouldn't actually do that with it, but he might, and that'd be terrible. But it would be so unexpected. I would be like, no way. I'd be like, no way. Oh shoot. What if he doesn't even kick him in the head? What if he goes and he feints with a jab and he just does a straight side kick to the body? The weakest point in Usyk's armor as a boxer. Like that would be, oh my gosh. That, that, oh man. That would be so absurd. That would be so absurd. Oh my gosh. That would be hilarious. Let me see. Like that one boxing match where a kickboxer KOs the boxing guy with the roundhouse. Yeah, I know the video that you're talking about. Oh yeah, see that was disgusting. That was terrible. And that was out of frustration. That's the thing. He did that because he was losing and he didn't have any other answer. And Lord knows if prayerfully Rico was not that type of hot tempered and ill-minded. Because again, he should be banned if he does that. Yeah, that is despicable. That is abhorrently bad. But for this context of situation, it would be funny because, oh my gosh, he kicked Usyk. What? What do you mean he kicked the heavyweight champion of the world? What do you mean? What do you mean the world heavyweight champion got knocked out with a head kick in a unified heavyweight title match? What the world is this? It would be the absurdity of it all. It would be hilarious. It would be so hilarious. But look, we still got to go and talk about the other fights on the card. More specifically, even more than Shiraz versus what was it? Aleem? I think not Aleem. Excuse me, Aleem. He missed weight and he didn't get the fight even. What's his name? Is it Abek? What is that dude's name? Golly. Let me look about the pronunciation. It just legit. Hold on, I'm looking it up. It just left my mind. Who? That's it. Aleem Begik, I believe is his name. Real quick, we can discuss that fight. That fight should be Shiraz wins, knocks him out, probably in 6 rounds, 7 or 8 if it goes. Okay, he has some trouble or he injures himself. Begik is not really that great. Begik ain't really, we had Matt Borgerson say he hadn't fought outside the country, which is true. But again, not that isn't always be indicative, or that is not always indicative of somebody being great or not great. Because again, Usyk for most of his career didn't fight out of Japan, and everybody was one of the best in the world. I don't use that as a potential crux, but the competition that he faced off against while he was in his own home country, yeah, it's nothing impressive. That's where the problem comes into play. She wasn't fighting somebody with any note of connotation of real competitiveness, fervor, fire, or danger at all. He'd be better off fighting against the likes of Berlanga again, rather than having to go and fight against the likes of rather than having to go and fight against Aleem or Alem, excuse me. It would be it seems like a placeholder fight. It seems like a fight that's just pageantry. The champion reigns again, he wins again, and he's setting up more big fights. Add another man to the highlight reel of the indomitable force of the 6'2", 79-inch reach, 73-inch reach behemoth that is at 168 as a further example of the biggest, towering, dominating force that the super middleweight division has to offer. And make a shockwave to the system of, Canelo, you better watch out. Shiraz, Berlanga, you better watch out. Not Berlanga, excuse me. And Billy, you better watch out. Adamas, you better watch out. I'm bigger, better than ever before. But I'm not going to be uber impressed by this win. But it should be that Shiraz wins this fight easy by KO. Almost assuredly. At least to me, almost assuredly. Let me see. Turkey would sentence Rico to death for kicking Usyk. Rico might get jumped by the entirety. The entirety of the boxing world. If he does that, that'd be ridiculous. But even beyond Rico, beyond Shiraz and Alem, the other big fight and the real one I am interested in, even more than Jack Catterall, who's getting a shot against Giyasov, which we will discuss because that's going to change the makeup of the movement of 147. Prayerfully, it will. Because it's been a little bit stagnant since after Devin Haney beat Brian Norman Jr. It's been a little bit stagnant of what that division is going to be able to do with the amount of names that are at the top level or top heavy end of the division. But even more than that fight with Catterall and Giyasov, the fight I'm interested in more than anything, Torres Jr. versus Sanchez. This is the one. This This fight is one of my more intriguing fights of the night. If there's any reason I'm watching this fight, more than just to see how fast Usyk can beat him, more than Shiraz, it's this one. Because this has been the biggest gripe against Torres that I've held against him. I haven't seen him have good performances in terms of consistently good standing performances against the talent that he's been against. And the talent that he's been against has not even been top level talent or talent that has been close to the world championship level. Now when he goes up against Sanchez, this will be not just the hardest fight that we have on paper, but this will be the first real instance of him being in the ring with somebody that has formerly been around the talking forums and around the vicinity of actual title contention, and a legitimately good heavyweight fighter that has experience and that has a track record that is not just blown up bigger than what we've seen Torres ever face, but it's filled with, even in his losses, like he's faced off against people that they legit. And I've had my doubts about Sanchez for the longest time. I've had my doubts about Torres for the longest time. I will tell you this straight up. I have not been high on Torres like a bunch of people. I've not been the one to say that he's going to be a future world champion. Absolutely. I've not been the one to say he's going to be the man that runs this division. I've said that's most of the time. I have said deliberately and consistently, if a Talbot and Torres faced off today, because they have the exact same record today, they've had the exact same number of fights today. If not, Thomas had one more fight than Torres, but that's it. And Torres has the Olympic experience as well to boot. But if they faced off today in boxing, most of the time it would knock him out in 6 rounds. I have said that consistently. I've said that consistently because I don't think Torres is that hype I don't think Torres is built like the hype or the appeal that seemingly he has on a lot of the boxing public as the next great American face in the world of boxing, in the heavyweight division. I don't see it. I don't gravitate towards it. I don't see the necessary, not just refinement, but ability within his best weaponry, which is inside work, dogging somebody, not even dogging somebody out, more so outlasting his opponents, outworking his opponents with volume, being a brawler, and getting in the chest of his opposition and making them feel the weight of not just his density as a specimen, but as a relentless steamroller. That's been his game, which I'm not hating. I'm just saying I haven't seen anything evolve within that working framework of a game plan, unlike I've seen with the Tom and others. So I'm not sold on him. This is the fight to sell me on Richard Torres. This is the fight to make me believe that Richard Torres is somebody that I can buy into as a legitimate threat in the division of the heavyweight landscape. Beyond just a young fighter who's got some American pedigree, who's got some Olympic background, which I'm not disrespecting. All of that is well and good. I am saying now we have had validating performances of the skills of a Talma. We have not had that with Richard Torres, for me. And I'm using this comparison not because I'm trying to pit the fighters against each other, but I'm using this because both of them have been in positions where the proving grounds and the validating of their careers, of their abilities, is in the balance in this current building up of their careers. They're both in the same boat, and one is clearly better than the other. And the other one hasn't put on a performance to make it so that the gap should be talked about in a comparative way to me. If he wins this fight in a fashion that proves that point, I can talk about him like I hear everybody else talk about him. But right now, I just can't. Now, I would love to hear if I'm wrong in my assessment of how I feel about the likes of Torres, and if I'm jumping the gun too much on a brother that actually is good, and I just don't see the skills in him. If that's the case, explain to me. Let me hear it. Tell me what you like about Torres, and I can go and disseminate. I want to have the discourse, but I don't see it. And this is one of the last opportunities in the young career that I can have for Torres to go and show me, okay, as a prospect, we can buy into you as you can get into the top 10 and beyond. And be a fixture rather than just a blip in time or only a name that in America you can be good at because you're only at the level of the American heavyweight, which is not great. Outside of here, when you go up against the Herkoviches, the Daniel Dubois, the likes of the Caballeros, the Big Bang Jangs, those are the only ones you can do. Or excuse me, those are the people that you would be up against in the contention for a world title opportunity as down the line, even as they age. And I'm saying I don't know if you ever get to that zenith. Michael Hunter in the in the US looks better as a heavyweight persona when it comes to in the ring than I see with Richard Torres. And I want to understand, am I being too harsh on a man in Richard Torres for his ability, or is there some truth to me thinking this man is not what everybody says that he is in the landscape of the heavyweight world? I would love to hear that. I want to hear your thoughts on that, because this is the biggest proving ground that Torres has had before he crosses over from just regular prospect into it's time to move. Because I've said it before, 14, 15 fights, like with Roy Jones Jr. and others, was when after that, they started gunning for titles. They started going into the upper levels of the divisions that they were in. They started moving more. And if we're doing that, and we're saying that Talma is on that same trajectory, with him potentially wanting to fight off against Caballero, calling him out and calling out other names as well, being ranked number one in multiple belt commissions, why is that not the same for Torres in terms of the timeline? Can you reach it? And I'm saying if it's not there, I'm not saying it can't get there, but we shouldn't be holding Torres in the same vase as a Talma, in the sense of he's not as good as a Talma. The standard of progression, yes, you should hold. Even though you blossom at your own time, you still should hold it, because y'all are having the same amount of fights against each other with the same level of competition, and one is clearly outshining the other. Now, the separation is starting to incur. You got to catch up. Can you do it? And I don't know if he can. Let me see. Let me see what you all got to say. I remember being disappointed that Torres versus Sanchez was canceled months ago. I hope Sanchez's knee holds up. Hopefully. I do mean hopefully. It does. Because I would hate it. I would hate for it to be. I would hate for it to be. Yeah, we see this fight, but the knee gives out again, and all of a sudden it's a technical decision due to the damage or injury rather than performance, because then that doesn't show any improvement if Torres has improvement. And if I want Torres to be successful, sure, he's from the States. It'd be great if he became a legit heavyweight contender. Because America needs a dominant heavyweight champion, or at least somebody that's in the running to be able to say, hey, I got a shot at the title. That we can put on the pedestal of, hey, we got somebody up here. Great. It'll be cool. And people, they want it to be him. But my gosh, man, will it be? I just don't know. Let me see. I think a healthy Sanchez would beat White and Franklin. So if Torres gets him out of there, big ups to him. And that's true. At this current landscape, Sanchez is good enough to beat the likes of White. Absolutely. Franklin, it wouldn't be as, I don't think it would be as easy as it would be against Dillian White. But I think, yeah, he would be able to beat him as well. like I said, Sanchez is closer to the contending status of championship pedigree than Torres has ever been at before. So this, if he can beat Sanchez, this elevates him up a good chunk of amount in the heavyweight world as a competitive fighter in the ranks of the landscape of the giants in boxing. And I would love it. But it's more than just if he can win. It's how he does it. It's how he does it. I don't want it to be and a perfect example. A perfect example. And the how is just as for this fight. Because for some fights, simply getting the win is enough. And we've seen that before. But for this fight, the how of what Torres does to win is just as important as the win for Richard Torres. And I'll tell you what, let me pull it up right here. And let me see if I can find the fight. Let me see if I can find this fight. What was it? Guido. What was it? Was it Guido? Guido Vianello. That's what I was looking for. I had to make sure I read it correctly. But Guido Vianello was, again, I think what the other dude was, again, Shelik, that he knocked out in like one round, but he was like 23-7. He wasn't great as a fighter. Guido Vianello was a better fighter than the last fight against, I believe his name was Shelik, that we saw Torres fight against. Guido was a fighter that showed me that Torres, he won that fight by unanimous decision, sure. But how he won that was incredibly sloppy. And the game plan of smother, come in close, be aggressive, trying to, hooks upstairs, and a lot of physical contact on the fighter to wear them down, make them tired and all that stuff. All of that he tried to implement on a taller man that actually knew how to use his height and size. And it wasn't pretty. And it wasn't nearly as effective. It was effective enough to win. But the old saying is, it's not pretty, but it's effective. I couldn't say that after that fight. Not nearly as much. I'm concerned that against this fight, he might get exposed. As all the stuff I've been saying about the problems with Torres, the sloppiness on the inside, how he gets and closes in on range, I am concerned that that's going to be exposed by somebody who can move. If his knees hold up, Sanchez, he's a fighter, but he still got good enough feet that he can do a dance or two around you, away from you. If you are not privy, he can turn you and catch you if you ain't careful. And if he's a guy who can use his footwork, again, if his knees hold up and he still got it, to turn your aggressiveness against you at the pivot of a heel. If we could see this man don't be surprised if you start seeing this fight and after round like 7, they show the scorecards. It's like, oh, wait a second, it's tied. Or it's only separated by a round. And might not be great. Now, this is all not taking into account Bomac. If Bomac is really getting Torres right, we got ourselves a problem hypothetically. And it will show up in this fight against Sanchez. So I believe Bomac is training Torres. He's part of his stable. And if we see that training starts to really take effect, and the mentality of being able to work, not just work smart, but work with destruction while being clean, yeah. Because we know Bomac, he can make a game plan with the best of them. He can make a game plan that will isolate and mitigate everything that the opponent wants to do useless. Render it useless. He can do it. And if he's putting that with Torres, and Torres is adapting his style to fit the Bomac mentality, I'm telling you, now we got ourselves that's some good upside. That can show up in the fight. And that can give the point proven that this brother's legit. And I hope it happens. But it's very volatile. That's a 50-50 fight. Don't let the notoriety of a Torres fool you. This is a 50-50 fight because Torres could legitimately run into the same problems that the likes of Guido and other fights earlier in his career gave him against a person who's better than everybody else he's faced off against. And so it's going to be a close affair. Or at least it's going to be very interesting to see how this affair can translate to Torres pulling away or straight up ending the show against somebody who's been close to the world level. It's going to be very interesting. But we're going to see how it goes. It's 50-50. For the sake of argument, I'll pick Torres as the winner. For the sake of argument, I'll pick Torres as the winner. And hopefully I'm right. Lord knows if I'm wrong. We will discuss it, no question about that. But even still, we have more stuff to cover on this show today. And if anything, the other aspect of this show that we're going to talk about, beyond just Usyk, beyond just the likes of Richard Torres and others, we had to talk about Devin Haney and the biggest threat to him at the landscape of 147. Now, we talked about the likes of Giyasov. Giyasov fighting against Jack Catterwall for, was it the regular? Is it the regular WBA title? I believe. If I'm wrong, please correct me on that. But it is happening and going down. That fight, if we see Giyasov win, that could shake up the landscape of this division for the better. And in fact, before I even continue, let me make sure that I got this right. Hold on. Let me make sure that I do want to make sure I'm not referring to this fight incorrectly. This is just my personal thing. Okay. I thought so. I just had to make sure that I was not going about this the wrong way. I just got to think. I want to make sure I got the names right. So yeah, if we see Giyasov beat Catterwall, one, that would be a really good win for Giyasov. For those who may have doubts about Giyasov's validity as a legitimate championship level fighter. Again, it's a WBA regular title. It's not the full-blown super or the legit world championship, but it's the regular version. So it's like the key to unlock the door to get the legit world title, at least for the WBA. And so that fight, depending on how it goes, can change what matches we can see. Specifically between Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and Rolly Romero, and Keyshawn Davis. Those big four names. Most likely it will make Rolly have to move in and get a fight with one of these. Because he was getting ready to take a fight to try to avoid this, and now he can't avoid it. If we get this win, boom, he's going to have to run. You're going to have to run that fade at some point. You're going to have to. May be the most money. You're going to have to run it. Because now you're holding the division hostage. And in holding this division hostage, the question of Devin Haney being the unshaking rock in this division, the foundational king of this entire world of 147, unchallenged by most except for maybe two. It has stayed even more fervent because of the lack of movement. But with this fight potentially having a domino effect on the rest of the division, let's ask the question, who should we see as the biggest threat in this division to get Devin Haney off of his pedestal of being the best man in the land at 147, within 147. We're not gonna talk about Shakur yet. Shakur and Devin Haney, we know that all those talks and conversation. We just had a situation where Richardson Hitchens was talking about how everybody's going to be coming to Zuffa, so that fight with Richardson Hitchens, so that fight with Devin Haney and Shakur, more and more is looking like there may be some validity, that there's a deal that's getting done that may be having them getting in the ring with each other on a Zuffa card. Like I said, it's still skeptical, but Matt Borgeson, you brought it up. You said it was going to happen. We said if it does happen, we'd be shocked. Now you got people within the likes of Zuffa essentially not confirming, but breaking down how, look, eventually all of your favorite fighters are going to be coming over here because it's throwing the bag at everybody. And now they're allowing for people under Zuffa to fight for world titles, unlike with what they were doing previously. Or unlike what they had said recently, in light of the Jaya Pattaya getting stripped situation. So with that opening and with the money, we can see stuff shake up and everybody come over there. Hypothetically, nothing's going to happen, but it may be more and more prevalent of a potential reality that will occur. But that's another conversation. Main point is, barring Shakur, Devin Haney, who should we see as the best threat in this division for Devin Haney to be beaten by? Most people say Ryan Garcia. Some would say Giasov was a latent, unknown, or rather unsung threat, though I don't think he's that big of a threat to beat Devin Haney specifically, even if he beats Jack Catterall. Even if he beat Rolly Romero, I still don't think he would be good enough to beat the likes of Haney. Keyshawn Davis, however, the more I'm watching this guy fight, and the more I'm seeing how his frame is going to look at 147, which again, he's not as big or long from the standpoint of reach and outright body frame as Devin Haney, but he is physically molding before my eyes as when he adds those extra 7 pounds, he is physically going to be one of the most demanding fighters in the ring. The power and all that stuff is there, but now the accolades of fortified strength, not even accolades, that's the wrong word. The additive of fortified strength, uncut strength, unwavered level strength to do what you want to do in the ring, that's looking more apparent. That once he gets up to 147, yeah, he's going to be a physical problem. The same physical problem that can be as problematic as we saw from Ryan Garcia when he fought against the likes of Devin Haney. Again, PEDs definitely a factor, but the physical element of, oh shoot, in one department or another, this man's getting put into a box. You win half the battle. That still bodes true for Devin Haney. And that's Keyshawn Davis. I think he might fit that mold. And if it isn't Ryan Garcia, that's ultimately the end-all, be-all of the biggest threats in this division to Devin Haney. I think Keyshawn, though people may not want to say it outright, I think he's closer to a man that can beat Haney than people may realize. I do. I really do. I really do. I really do. I'm not trying to overhype a man. I'm saying now, his makeup of a fighter has enough that Devin Haney beating him would not just be a walk in the park. And as he keeps on going, because I think he's going to have maybe one more fight before he actually gets a fight with Devin Haney, we're going to see. Everybody's talking about he fights like Terrence Crawford. He fights like a brother who is able to emulate one of the most destructive forces that we had in boxing in Crawford. With their semblances of Bud's game in his own arsenal. We have heard that, we've seen that, and we understand that. But it's going to have its own twist. Definitely. But it is that twist in strength and style at 147 that I think is going to make a bigger difference than people realize. I do. I really do. Because I don't think the way that Devin Haney fights against Keyshawn Davis stylistically, I don't think it's going to benefit him in the same way that it has for his entire career. We talk about styles making fights. That's one style that I may think that could give him some trouble. That could give him some trouble. Because, and you know what? It is the same thing that we said on paper with Brian Norman. But it has been applied in a framework that has validated that more than Brian Norman. And that was Jermaine Ortiz. And that was being able to make Haney not be able to use the ring and not be able to use the clinch. Jermaine Ortiz fight, and more importantly, this fight with Albright, and the clinching aspect with Albright, and the movement aspect with Ortiz, those two fights answered the question to me of how does he deal with the mover? And how does he deal with somebody that wants to stop your offense by completely holding you? Now, he could have done a better job of fighting out of the clinch like he knew in that fight with Albright, understandable, but he didn't let the clinch just rest. He was at least making an effort to get out of it. He was at least making an effort to try to mitigate stifling his momentum. More than what we saw with Brian Norman in that fight. And movement-wise, way more than Brian Norman, we saw good feet that actually has educated elements be able to keep up with Ortiz, cut off Ortiz, and never give up his range against Ortiz while always being balanced and able to throw shots without smothering himself against Ortiz. Something that Brian Norman, against a high-level mover like Devin Haney, could not do. He's answered questions about his fighting acumen in a way that Brian Norman wasn't able to answer. Though we said Brian Norman had some of those attributes that could have given Haney some trouble, application-wise, he wasn't able to apply them. Keyshawn has those elements and applied those elements in a high-level fashion against multiple opponents. That translates to me. This isn't triangle theory. This is examples that show your evidence of success. You have proven to me there's something there that even though you're the smaller man, quote unquote, moving up to 147, you are not going to be the smaller man outright that's going to be in this fight from the standpoint of you're going to be outclassed in every regard. You will most likely be able to be a force, be a problem, more than anything, be a weapon that will be able to cut through the defenses that seem, for many, impenetrable by the likes of Devin Haney. I truly do. That's what I think. That's really what I think. That's really what I think. Now, I still want to hear from you all. And please, if you haven't already, go ahead and leave a like on the stream. We still got more stuff to cover in the world of boxing. Like, we still got more stuff around the sports landscape that we do want to discuss. So please leave a like on the stream. Subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't already, go ahead and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. Shameless plug aside, we want to hear from you. If you can, chat in the comment section. Do you think that the likes of Keyshawn Davis really does have an opportunity and ability to beat Devin Haney if that fight does actually happen? Because I'm starting to lean that yes, he can. It's not guaranteed, but it is a better acumen of ability, more so execution of ability. When you have the tools to beat somebody, can you use them to beat somebody? Brian Norman had the tools, but he couldn't use the tools in the way that he needed to. Because again, he wasn't educated in the sense of the technical aspects of boxing. He hurt his own momentum a lot of times. But Keyshawn Davis doesn't have that issue. And he showed that he doesn't have that issue against people that should have given him that issue. That shows me there's something there that Ryan Garcia ain't the only buddy that can beat Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia's not the only big threat that can stop Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia, even clean, even with the way that he looks up here at 147, he ain't the only buddy that can beat that can run this train to the ground. And Keyshawn, he can do it. He can. If you don't believe, I understand. Devin Haney's a phenomenal fighter. Devin Haney is a person who, if you give up more than 4 rounds on him, by the time round 6 comes around, you are going to get stalled out like a car in the rain. You're going to get put on an island. It's gonna be nothing but you're gonna be in the middle of the desert where a gas station ain't nowhere but 100 miles one way or the other. And you just gonna have to ride until you stop. And you're gonna stop. Because you're gonna run out of gas. Not because you're tired, but because there's nothing you can do. Because the lead has already been padded and he's too far down the road for you to catch up. And you don't have the tools to drive the car like you need to make up that gap. That is what we see when it comes to Devin Haney. If you don't beat me, if it ain't close by round 6, you are not going to be able to catch up. That's how he wants to play. Like Shakur said, front runner. Win the first, or I think he said it. I think he said it about. No, yeah, he said it about that. I thought it was about Tank, but it's about Devin Haney. He's front runner. 6 rounds. I'm going to win. I'm going to box. I'm going to do all that stuff. And then after that, I'm going to sit back. I've done what I need to do. I don't think that's going to work against Keyshawn anymore. Or at all, rather. It's going to be a problem. If that fight ever does happen. I'm starting to understand why he's so confident he wants to get that fight. I'm starting to recognize why his bravado isn't just, oh, I'm all that in a bag of chips. I understand that. I'm starting to see it. I get it. It still is a fight that if Devin Haney's favorite, I completely understand. I'm saying the threat to beat him, Keyshawn Davis, if he does commit, and please commit to 147 if you're Keyshawn. If he does do that, I strongly believe he should be seen not just by name but by talent. One of the biggest threats to Devin Haney. I truly do. Let me see. Johnny Blaze, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on our live stream today. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us. Let me see what you got to say. Devin Haney has no motion, no fight lined up, haven't fought since November. His biggest threat is being inactive. Was November, December, January. That's going to be fine. November, December, January, February, March, April, May. It's been 6 months since his last fight. Now, generally, we see people that fight 1 or 2 times a year. He's not too far out of the realm of, getting stuff going. I get that. Now, it's eking up to, hey, it's almost halfway through the year and you haven't had a fight yet. That's problematic. At least we got Shakur fighting within 2026. But it could be because of the very thing with Zuffa. It could be. Everybody calls him out. He talks about everybody under the sun. Sure. It could be that he's not fighting because of what potentially is going down with Zuffa and a deal with him and Shakur. Like I said, I'm not trying to read too much into the lines. I'm simply giving the evidence that was provided in chat, the shock and all, and then subsequently almost every day for the past couple of weeks, we've seen more and more ruminations of people insinuating or trying to be proudly secretive that they got something brewing between Devin Haney and Keyshawn Davis. Dana White was even, in fact, let me see if I can find the clip real quick about this whole situation. Because I think even Dana White was talking about that in a post-fight interview. I forget which interview it was, but he was talking about it and saying, yeah, we might, who's to say we haven't done it yet? Have we announced that fight yet? I believe was the quote when he was trying to be all sly and slick, asking the corner or asking his team, trying to be like, insinuating, we got something going. We haven't announced it, but we working on some things. That may be why no motion has been done, because of that fight that they have potentially under contract, just waiting to be announced. You know what? Don't be surprised. If I'm gonna be completely honest, Dana White announced Conor McGregor coming back during the walkout of Francis Ngannou. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm not just trying to talk just to talk. I'm not trying to switch gears. This is something serious. This is something important. Everybody listen up if you can. If you can, listen up. Dana White, he went and announced Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway on the walkout of Francis Ngannou in his return to boxing. In his return to MMA. On, I believe, the Ronda Rousey Netflix card with MVP. He announced that, trying to take the shine. He's been throwing shots to all the other promoters, trying to take the shine from them consistently. He has been saying, we're going to dog walk all of you. We got Richards and Hitchens making, during the week of stinking, the fight with Usyk. Hey, all of y'all favorite fighters are going to be signing with Zuffa eventually, saying that on the podcast. Do not be surprised at all if after the July card for the UFC, the White House card, UFC 250, where they're celebrating the July 4th, America's independence and all this stuff. Don't be surprised if during that card, after that card, or I think after July, there's a huge card that's coming up outside of Zuffa. Don't be surprised if within that July 4th UFC 250 dateline, we see that fight get announced, most likely, or the signees get announced there, because Dana wants to steal the shine. Following what he does oftentimes, he wants to make it so that we drop the bomb when y'all had something going on, and now we the one that takes hold of everything else. If this is real, I can see that's where this happens. And that may be why the silence of Devin Haney, Bill Haney, outside of the whole I got my son $100 million deal type situation, that may be why they aren't in the spotlight as much. Might be. Now, Shakur's saying something else. He's saying all this stuff is a lie and all that stuff. Like I said, I'm not one to say one is false or real. I'm simply saying if this is true, this could be the inactivity reason. And it could be that after this, we get those announcements, post or during UFC 250 on that White House card. And it would make all the sense in the world. Because what better way to put the headliner of, we got, by the way, while I'm doing my event, my other baby just took the two of the biggest stars in the sport to make them fight against each other on our home turf. Same logo, different sport. Same dude pushing the sport. I hold all the cards. I guarantee you. That's what probably will happen. That's what probably will happen if all of this is real. Because notice, talks are kind of stifled down when it came to Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Devin Haney versus Rolly. Devin Haney versus anybody at 147 right now. We haven't really heard anybody else as they're in positions to fight him. We haven't heard any rumors, or I haven't heard, any rumors, news, signing opportunities, or even negotiations between fighters. We've heard call-outs. We've heard names. We've heard we'll fight anybody and everybody. We understand that. But in terms of actual, hey, like with Lomachenko and Navarrete, we got word they may be signing on the dotted line or they're talking through an agreement now. I haven't heard anything about that, or I haven't heard anything of that ilk. And when it comes to Haney, excuse me, lost my train of thought for a second, my apologies. When it comes to Devin Haney, I haven't heard anything else involving negotiations with other fighters, other champions within the division, or transcending his division. None of the above. The biggest thing I've heard is people have dropped his name. People have called him out. People have been speculating about fights, but nobody, to my knowledge, has done anything sending money or contract-wise to sign stuff to say, let's get the ball rolling. And it could be because the whole semblance or the whole idea that Devin Haney may actually be locked down with a deal with Zuffa may just be real. It actually could be real. It could be. And if so, my goodness, that'd be insane. That would be insane if that is the case. But that may be what is going down. Hypothetically, that may be what's going down. But again, we'll follow that story as it continues to unfold and flourish. But we still want to cover the rest of the boxing world with you all in the realm of sports and beyond. We can actually transition over into, hold on, let me make sure we covered everything they wanted to on our show for the main card of our topics of discussion. We went through Devin Haney and the biggest threats to him. Went through Rico versus Usyk and the fights and the retirement and the potential fights afterwards. We talked about Lomachenko versus Navarrete and Lomachenko's comeback as a fourth name that now looks to be legitimate. I think those were the biggest things and aspects to the end. We talked about the rest of the card on the bigger fights on the card with Rico Verhoeven and Usyk. I think we got free reign now to go into the championship rounds. So I think we're good to go. So ladies and gentlemen, it's time to work. It's time to shine. It's time to make this show sublime with your thoughts and opinions as you control the last 30 minutes to an hour of the show. It's time to go and have your voices be heard and have your debates and conversations flood this chat and flood this show because it's time for the championship round. Yes, sir. Let's get it started. Let's get it popping. Let's get it running. It's time for us to have ourselves a grand old time as we talk about the world of boxing and beyond on the last 30 minutes into an hour of this show. Movies, sports, television, video games, NBA, NFL, more so boxing specifically, because again, right now the NBA and boxing are the two biggest popping off things that are occurring right now. Whatever you want to discuss, questions, comments, concerns, debates, getting your takes off, questioning my abode of knowledge, asking stuff that we didn't get to ask on this show about questions that you're just interested in involving the world of sports and beyond. We want to hear from you in all regards of this great show that we got going on. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell and keep on liking the stream. One like makes a world of difference to make this show bigger, better, and stronger, to have the masses around the globe look at us and see we got stuff popping, we got motion, we got stuff egging on, and we got things to do that are worth your time and investment. So please, if you can, if you haven't already, hit the like button on this stream and share the show with everybody all across the globe so they can be privy and be in on the action that we got going on. But let's have ourselves a championship round and let's hear what you got to say, shall we? Come on, let's get it popping and let's get it going. And for this show, because we got some time, We can talk a little bit about some about some NBA action if we got to see the games over the course of the last 2 days. And lo and behold, we got to see another barn burner of a game against OKC and the Spurs, with OKC tying up the game, tying up the series 1-1. Yeah, it's drawn out with the two biggest and baddest heavyweights in the NBA right now, Victor Wembanyama versus SGA, and this time it was SGA coming out on top with OKC tying up this series 1-1 in the Western Conference Finals. And crazy enough, the story of this game, more than just the win, it was injuries and fouls. I think 2 of the 3 guards that we had for the Spurs got injured due to the physical nature of play and the more so fouling nature of play that we see OKC have defensively. I don't care if this is one of the best defensive teams that we've had in the modern day era of the NBA. That is all well and good, true. They are one of the best teams in basketball. It doesn't change the fact that this OKC squad is a fouling machine and a foul baiting menace to the NBA, yet they're able to get away with it. SGA was falling down. There's a whole compilation on social media of SGA falling down after every single shot for nearly 3 straight minutes of compilated boxing match. I think he had like 25 points to get, 25, 28 points on the game. Excuse me if I have the numbers wrong. I don't have them in front of me outright. But he still made a better impact, had a way better offensive efficiency game than he had the first time. But what that game was still, in part, was done by foul baiting. He didn't get to the line as much. Still, in this game, hit a bunch of clutch shots, especially a clutch fadeaway from 3 in the fourth quarter that was really prevalent to help OKC pull away. But even despite that, this whole team, we can see it. The refs, the calls, the fouls, the flow of stagnation due to the seemingly untouchability that OKC has been able to garner for themselves. Rules for thee, not for me. Being able to touch, foul, pull, undercut on the defensive end. Everything that the Spurs were trying to do. But I was seeing Wembanyama get literally yanked by Isaiah Hartenstein, and it was getting called good, hard level play. But then on the other end of the spectrum, this brother was flopping the kingdom come, trying to bait stuff out and getting calls against Wemby, as well as with other players. Stephon Castle, Dillon, yes, sure, Hartenstein had 4 fouls, but by the time he had 4, he should have actually been out the game with the amount of physical toughness that was actually just straight up fouling that had been going on. This is one of the biggest aspects as to why there's a big problem with OKC. It's not just the corniness. It's not just the, oh, y'all are fake cool in the sense of when things are going good, y'all are smiling, but when things are going bad, like in game 1, you're shoving cameras out your face. You ain't trying to be all slick and suave, all that. What looks to be, from an outside perspective, fake persona of nonchalantness goes out the window. And people don't like that already. Beyond that, beyond the repetitiveness of, oh my gosh, how can Sam Presti keep on getting all these great players, and what in the world why is the league not stopping this? Beyond all that, it's just the fact that this team, part of their identity is built off of the James Harden idea. You can't touch him. You can't play defense like you need to, but they can mug you on the court and nothing is the matter. That is insanely lopsided. It's insanely ridiculous. It doesn't help the fact that the best defensive player in basketball, and arguably the best player in the NBA right now, what the hell he's been playing this series in Victor Wembanyama, when he's off the court, the fouling goes through the roof. Because even with as good as the Spurs are, they're not as disciplined nearly as a one-man gang that is the likes of Victor Wembanyama. So even when they're putting themselves in the best position to defend without fouling, they're still fouling. Because the art of baiting, again, it's an art form. It's hard to do. It ain't easy. But good gosh, that whole team has mastered it. Especially SGA. And when he's off the floor, but they were down 4 at one point in time when Victor Wembanyama was on the floor and they were on the run coming back. Victor Wembanyama set for 4 minutes. That lead went from 4 to 12 by that point in time. Went to the line twice, gave up a 3 in the drive. Luke, I think it was Cornette that was on the Spurs that came in for center, completely changed the entire landscape of flow of this game. That's the reason why they lost. In all honesty, that one run of without Wemby, they were able just to run amok, do whatever they wanted, get to the hole and be aggressive at the rim and get to the line. Even if it was only 2 or 3 times, it started the momentum of building not just confidence, but a flow of how our offense can go, because now y'all are scared to defend us like you need to, because we're getting to the line and y'all are getting put more and more in foul trouble. And you're already injured. You ain't got many people. You ain't got as many bodies as we do that you can just replace and plug in and you good to go. They got Mitchell, even though Mitchell got injured. They got Mitchell. They got McCain. They got SGA. They're just at the guard spot. Hartenstein and Chet can be interchangeable or play on the court at the same time. You got Jalen Williams, who, again, he's not a uber great player, but he fits their role for the team. You got a plethora of guards, Jalen Williams, even when he isn't able to play. Jada being out doesn't affect this team nearly as much because they still got bodies they can just throw at you. Doesn't make any sense, but it's what they're built as. Spurs ain't got that, but they do have De'Aaron Fox coming back. And that one element, that's going to change a lot of stuff. Watch, if he is able to come back game 3 in San Antonio, Lord willing, fully healthy, because they intentionally set him down because they didn't want to rush him back. And they already took game 1. So even more incentive to say, hey, we can sit you down for that. So we were able to, with J-Dub there, we were able to beat them without you. Now, they adapted, but now we got another adjustment that we can make. Trust and believe. If you get Castle and Fox on the court together as a starting unit, with Vassell and others coming off the bench, I'm telling you, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. This is about to be another heavyweight swing in this series. And once it goes back to San Antonio, ooh, you about to see something serious. And once again, I said this before and I'm saying it now. Once again, Alex Caruso came up clutch. A lot of big plays, a lot of motor-driven opportunities. Still making threes and all that stuff. He playing his heart out. SGA still ain't playing up to the same caliber of MVP status that he should be in this series. That's still true. He still ain't playing with the same unabated ease of dominance and efficiency that his MVP moniker should be having him as in terms of playing. Alex Caruso has been a big part in this team's ability to be where they are right now. You need to keep an eye out on him, though. Because just like I said in game 1, and I'm saying it for the whole series, if SGA cannot be the best player on the floor outright the entirety of this series, and he keeps on having some up and down struggles, not just for a moment, I'm talking about for a whole game, watch and see. Caruso can't keep that up. The energy offensively and defensively, this is from LA going into this series. I guarantee you, he can't keep it up. He's been this player his entire career, but the issue is, normally the other people have been backing and elevating up. Chet Holmgren still being not nearly as viable as an offensive option is a problem with the way he's been playing this series, getting almost negated by the likes of Victor Wembanyama in the defense of the Spurs as a whole. I'm telling you, if Caruso having these 15, 26-point games, he's capable of it. No question. Keeping that up in this type of heavyweight bout, especially if it goes 7, and SGA is playing under par to his MVP level, which to a big degree he has, I don't think OKC's going to be able to win this series, excuse me. Because at this point in time, it's been the others that are propelling this team forward. And SGA is still driving the bus, but he ain't driving nearly as fluidly. And there's a lot of potholes right now they got to deal with on this road to a title with the Spurs. You cannot be SGA, and you cannot be playing to the standard of the MVP underwhelmingly and expect Caruso to be the second best dude on this team, especially with J-Dub being injured. And you can expect Caruso to keep this up for 7 straight games if it goes that far. If Caruso gasses out at some point, and mark my words, it's going to happen one of these games. OKC might be cooked, or they're going to be in a hole that it's going to be surprising if they can get out. Because he's the X factor right now. He's been playing well above what his perceived role was on this team, which is beautiful. But to have that going for the entirety of a series has been this physical. And you got to play as hard as you got to play against Victor Wembanyama as one of the main, at 6'4", 6'5", you're the guy guarding Victor as one of the primary defenders. You can't keep that up for 7 games. Offensively and defensively. You can't. It's going to bite him in the butt. I guarantee you it's going to bite him in the butt. It's going to bite him. It's going to hit him hard. This is on Chet. If Chet cannot get up back to his number 2 option level play. And it's got to be Caruso that's playing with SGA as the main offensive force as well as the defensive anchor. It's going to crash and burn. We've seen this story before. It's going to happen again. Mark my words. Let me see. Yo, Vega, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on our live stream today. Salute to you. We're in the championship rounds right now in the framework of this show. We're primarily a boxing show. We talk about boxing and everything else around the sports ethos. Right now, in this segment, we can go and talk about anything under the sun in reference to the NBA, boxing, or anything else involving the sports landscape that you want to ask me questions of, whether it's about Lomachenko coming back and fighting against Navarrete, whether it's about Devin Haney and who you think can beat him at 147 as a dark horse figure of a threat to him. Usyk versus Rico Verhoeven is happening this Saturday on the Egypt championship card. Do you think there'll be an upset? Who do you want to see Usyk fight after this? And so much more involving the world of sports and beyond. If you want to keep on asking questions, this is your time to do it, as the floor is yours to discuss anything under the sun. Right now, we're discussing the NBA action and reactions to what happened over the week in the time that we were not on the show, because we do the show Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays every day on the week. But let me see. 260 win teams, always going to be interesting how things play out. Oh, no, it will. Like, you got to understand. And there's another prominent, who said it? I think it was Legend of Winning. It was either Legend of Winning or Kenny Beecham that said this. But one of those two said it. And go watch their channel. It's credit to them. We love it. But this is essentially, for a lot of people, the NBA Finals for many. It is. It's the NBA Finals for many people. And in terms of the best of the best going up against each other, this is that matchup. It's looking like a heavyweight fight. Somebody put up an edit. This is essentially Goku versus Majin Buu fighting against each other. And the rest of the NBA, both who are knocked out and in the playoffs, they just sitting back and watching, saying, oh my gosh, this is insane. How can these two be this good? This is terrible for the rest of the league because these two are just so much better, but I can't look away because it's so exciting. It's that type of situation. So I guarantee I can't wait to see it, how this series goes. And I still think the Spurs can win this series. I think they will. Barring any injuries. If anybody gets injured, though, it's going to be a problem. Anybody else gets injured and can't play, it's going to be a problem. But if they're fully healthy or almost fully healthy, I do believe they can win the series. But let me see. Is Richard Torres the only hope for American heavyweights? No, he is not. I think the other one is a guy named Michael Hunter in the world of heavyweight boxing. Let me look him up real quick. Let's see. Hunter. Yeah, that's the other That's the other. Well, is he still fighting? Wait, is he still fighting? Yep, can't even say that because he ain't fought in 2 years. So yeah, he might be the only hope. He might be the only hope. I was gonna say it's him, but no, he's 37. He ain't fought in 2 years. Yeah, he might be wrapping it up. I don't. Yeah, it's Richard Torres. Yeah, it's Richard Torres. There's no other American heavyweight that is anywhere close to the amount of tangible ability to succeed at the elite level than Richard Torres right now. None of them. All the other ones, all the other fighters that we got, they're lower weight class. That's why I had to think. That's why I paused for a second. Because I was like, wait, are we sure? That's why I looked him up for a minute. Because I was like, I know he was a name, but I couldn't remember where he was. But no, yeah, he's 37. Yeah, bump that. No. No. He ain't. It's only Torres and nobody else. And it's sad, but it makes sense. Because most of the other big time athletes that are heavyweights, they're going to other sports. Mind you, it used to be that boxing was for anybody that was that tall, 6'5", 6'6", 6'3", and whatnot, and they were big like that. Boxing used to be the biggest game in town. Be a boxer. Go fight. Follow in the footsteps of some of the biggest athletes in the world, not just the sport, the world, like Joe Louis, Ali, George Foreman, and others. Sonny Liston and others. But as the time shifted, NFL, NBA, other sports made it so that if you're big, you can make money and be viable without having just to straight up take punches. So they went to other avenues of sports. That's why over here, there's not many U.S. heavyweights that are real threats. Not many at all. Not many at all. We wish there was more, but nah, there ain't no more. It's Richard Torres. It's him and nobody else. That's why, and mind you, I'm still going to go back to the NBA because I do want to talk about that Knicks game, 22-point comeback. I want to address that if I can before we get off of this show. Well, I know it's the championship rounds. I'm going to make sure we talk about that game before we leave. But for the boxing sense, that is why Torres continues to be put in conversations with the Talma because of the fight careers looking similar with the amount of wins, total fights, and both of them looking like, oh, they can be knockout. They can be people that can knock people out. That's why. But if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't be a comparison. It wouldn't. Sanchez is a man that has me very concerned because I don't know how much I can buy into Sanchez being this much of a dominant fighter. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I don't know. I don't know how much I can buy into that. I want to buy into it. I want to believe. I want to say, yeah, he can topple the world. But there's been a big part of me that's been saying, if he wasn't American, would we be talking about Torres as one of the future potential foundational pieces in this heavyweight regime? I said no. Or if he is there, he's nearer to the bottom of that rung of prospective talent in the prospect sense. He is still one of the main fixtures, but he's not nearly as high as people are putting him out to be. But because he's from America, he's getting put on a pedestal that I don't think he's proven that he should be in. If he beats Sanchez in a fashion that separates him from the rest of the world in the prospect of heavyweight grandeur, sure, we can have that conversation now. We can talk now. We can discuss things now. We can delve into things in his career and his viability as a championship level fighter more now after that. But before that, I don't think so. He's the last hope, but he's the only hope right now for the heavyweight world. If there was somebody else that was better than Torres, I promise you, people would be saying there's somebody better than Torres. If there was somebody that had a bigger ability to buy into the masses, or had the masses buy into him, that I can run the heavyweight world, it would be there. It would be there. But there's nobody else there. Right now, there's nobody else there. Let me see. Dr. Umar, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on our show and on our live too. Hopefully you keep on leaving a like on the stream and keep on commenting your thoughts and opinions. We still want to hear from you, and keep on supporting the channel in any way that you can. We appreciate the love, and we want to keep on having this show be great for you all. One like makes a world of difference, and one subscription helps you add yourself to the empire and add yourself to this army. No question about it. But let me see. The heavyweight Bacoli, how highly do you rate him? Personally, I think he a top heavyweight, strong, inspirational, black and blessed. So, Bacoli, I rate him exactly where the Transnational Boxing Ranking Board rates him. I rate him as 9th or 10th. He's within the top 10 heavyweights in the world. Sure, same position as F.A. Jagba. He is not a top caliber heavyweight. Big Bang Zhang is better than him, even though his stamina is in the dirt. He's a better fighter than him. Atalma is better than him. F.A. Jagba, with what they showed, is on equal ground with him. You could argue he should have beaten F.A. He should have beaten Bacoli when they fought against each other. Him versus Joseph Parker, that was a little bit of a, I'm not going to say a fluke, but he came in literally 2 days' notice off the plane and 7th in the ring. I don't hold that loss against him. That's why he's still in my vicinity. Because if he had actually trained, who knows what that fight would have looked like. But what I do know is that he should not be amongst the top 5. I know that for a fact. Usyk, Fury, and people, I'd argue you can put a Talma there as well. And then Anthony Joshua, you can put him there. Caballero, you can put Caballero there as the 5th. He ain't on that level. He's not on that level. And see, he's got the makeup to be something serious. He's a barrel of a man. He's almost 300 pounds. He is he's a decisive puncher with length and deceptively in terms of being able just to shoot out his straight punches. That push jab that he's got, oh, that's lethal. And that 1-2, like he showed, though it's a performance that was over 3 years ago. This stuff against Jared Anderson, that was impressive. But since then, some stuff not his fault, some stuff it is. I can't move him up. I can't move him up in the world of heavyweight. I would love to, because he's a fun fighter to see. But I can't move him above 9th or 10th around the landscape of heavyweight boxing. If he gets a win that looks definitive, which I don't know who he's fighting next, but if we see that, yeah. Now we can definitely have a better conversation after that. Let me see. Bacoli fought F.A. They had a draw. I thought Bacoli lost, in my opinion. No, he didn't have time to train. No, he didn't have time to train. Excuse. Yeah, like that fight, he was prepped for it. And like I said, I thought F.A. won that fight against Bacoli, even though he was called a draw. So I don't. Bacoli's a unique situation because he's got the makeup to be a fighter that can give anybody problems. But it doesn't always translate into, yeah, he wins. More importantly, since his fight with Jared Anderson, there hasn't been any improvement in Bacoli in his boxing ability since then. If anything, he got exposed by Efe Ajagba, who is not a great mover at all. Moving around the ring almost broke Bakoli's ankles. Like legitimately broke his ankle, almost. And that's incredibly problematic. If you want to sniff, forget the top of the heavyweight division. Just straight up to some of the contenders up here. That can be problematic. And he can get tired, and he can gas out. And again, the lack of improvement as a heavyweight since that iconic win has really made it seem like, man, I don't know if he'll ever get back above that 9th or 10th spot in the ranks of my heavyweight opinion. And if he does, great, but he's going to lose. He's going to lose. And it's like, it's a shame, honestly, because he can talk, he can sell, he's got power, he's got a personality, he's funny, he can upset people, but it's just, I don't know. He just can't. The momentum that he garnered, to me, it feels like the momentum he garnered from that Anderson fight, he's been living off of, sustaining, but he hasn't built above that fight. Does that make sense? From what I can tell, a lot of people, the Bakoli fight the fights post Jerry Anderson, they haven't hurt Martin Bakoli severely, but they haven't necessarily helped him to improve his stock. He's been kind of still stagnant. It's just been stagnant, and it's really maddening because I want to see Bakoli really shake up this division if he really can. But that may be why the stagnation's there, because this is just how good he is. It could be. It very well could be. This is just where he's at. 10th, 9th spot. He might always just be there. Potentially. So it's until we see something different, I'm like, I love him. I want to see him. Every time he fights, I'll probably pay attention. But I can't overlook that one performance has really carried the weight of the reputation of Martin Bakoli. And since then, it hasn't been a bunch of, again, some stuff not his fault, but some stuff has just been, the needle hasn't moved. And if it has moved, it's moved down to some degree. So he's got to make some stuff shake. He's got to make some stuff. That's why I want him to get a fight. That's why I don't know who he's fighting next. I don't know where he is trying to go in his career to continue his run at the top for the time being. I said one of the best opportunities to really see how good a Talma is. Put him against Martin Bakoli. Richard Hitchens, not Hitchens, excuse me. Richard Torres, put him against Martin Bakoli. Have that be a barometer for how good they are. Because I don't know if we're going to see Bakoli get any better or elevate himself at this stage in his career. Which is a shame because I want to see him do more. But if that's the case, throw them in there with him and see what they can do. And see what happens. Worst comes to worst, have Bakoli fight Joe Joyce. I'd pay to see that fight. I would love to see that fight. Bakoli versus Derek Chisora, because Derek Chisora is again rethinking retirement. Why? I don't know, but he's rethinking it. Have him fight. Have Bakoli fight Deontay Wilder. Would that not be something incredible? though it didn't look perfect. The best Wilder that we saw in 4 years came out against Derek Chisora. He got a win against Derek Chisora. Oh my gosh. We couldn't believe it. Got a knockdown against Derek Chisora. We thought those days were long gone behind him. I would love to see Deontay Wilder go against Martin Bakole to see how that fight would pan. I would love that. But he's got to do something. Because if he doesn't do anything, it's just going to be, again, stagnation. I just don't like stagnation when it comes to Martin Bakole. Because I know he should be, more. He should be more. He should be more. Also, hold on, give me a second. Hold on. Had to call for a minute. Didn't want to. Didn't want to mess up your ears. But that's the thing. Let me just get him in a fight. Have him fight the winner of Sanchez versus Torres. Or have him be the next fight for Moses Atama. If Atama can't get a title shot or get a fight with Caballo. That'll be my thing. Make that happen. Everything's all hunky-dory. I love it. I would love that. But before we get out of here, because we got some time, because I don't want to go too far long, because we don't want to drag this show along where it's overstayed our welcome. But I do want to say, and we can quickly go back to the NBA thing, because again, we do talk about more than just boxing on this show. If you got to see the game with the Knicks versus Cleveland, oh my gosh, I have never been more of a believer that we're going to see the Knicks get to the finals. Then after game one, they had Cleveland up by 22. Until the Cleveland was up by 22 in the fourth quarter against the New York Knicks. And it looked like the Knicks, yet again, were going to be in another rut where they would fold under pressure, fold under power, and fold when there was opportunity to have themselves in a position to be in contention for a championship opportunity. And then Jalen Brunson happened. Oh my gosh. And one of the most insane feats of heroism that we've seen in NBA. We got to see Jalen Brunson lead the Knicks from a 22-point deficit and come back and beat Cleveland I think in regular time. If it wasn't in overtime, outright. But they took game one in New York City, and all of a sudden, the world looks a little bit brighter.
Hey, look at this. We got some problems here.
I tell you,
We got some problems.
life looks a little bit sunnier. The sky is look, as I'm talking about the Knicks right now, the sun all of a sudden came out. The color came back in my room. Everything looks a little bit better when the Knicks are actually good. And lo and behold, we're walking into a reality where we may not know who's going to be coming out the West, but the East got a favorite that everybody's rooting for, and the Knicks may just get to the finals and beat Cleveland. And what did I say going into game one and making the point for the entire series? Cleveland has Max Strus. Cleveland has Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. They got scorers and defenders that can make a difference on that team. The Knicks can match up with they can match up with Cleveland. They really can. They can run the table and go into those late stretches because of the stamina and the constant 48-minute push that they've instilled in their culture as the New York Knicks. However, it didn't matter what Cat was going to do. As much as it did, could Donovan Mitchell outplay Jalen Brunson definitively? And can Jalen Brunson play up to the offensive load that we've seen Donovan Mitchell be able to do in the playoffs countless times before? Jalen Brunson's had more 30-point games than about anybody else more 35-point games, than about any other player in NBA history during the playoffs, which is an insane stat to think about. But even more than that, the consistency of being able to carry that type of X-factor offensive ability. When you're in the midst of it's looking like it's down and out, can Brunson still continue to outplay his rival star? And he did it. 38 points, leading a 22-point comeback. One of the biggest comebacks in playoff history in the Western Conference Finals since, I believe, 1973. If I have my dates correctly, somewhere along that line in the 70s. This is something historic. This is something ridiculous. This is something that, again, it's typical Knicks in the best way possible, not the worst way possible. And this has made this team, more than ever, believe. The fan base was rocking. Stephon Marbury ran onto the court just about. You had Patrick Ewing on the sideline. It wasn't just the hype of Celebrity Row. It was the bought-in idea. This is more than just a moment in time. We can do this. We have built this team up for 5 years, made a trade or got Jalen Brunson from free agency, paid him a max deal, got Karl-Anthony Towns from the Timberwolves, and we kept Mitchell Robinson. We cultivated a roster. Started initially with the Villanova guys, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, and Dante DiVincenzo. Next thing you know, they let go of DiVincenzo. I wish they didn't, but it turned out for the better with what they've been able to garner with the roster right now. Shamet making clutch shots. Mitch Robinson fighting for his life down low and winning these battles up against the likes of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, the twin towers of the defensive NBA. And they are willing themselves to victory. And Brunson is playing like the all-star that we know he could do. The all-star that we've seen him as before. He's playing above that caliber. He's showing why he's one of the 5 best guards in the game. Nay, one of the 3 best PGs in all of basketball. He is elevating himself to be one of the greatest Knicks we've ever seen. Well, under his tutelage in New York, I think he's made it to at least the semifinals every time out. If not this time, the Western Conference Finals. Every year he's been with the Knicks, just about. It's ridiculous. It's insane. And offensively, at 6'2", he's been 6'1", more like it. He's been still being one of the most clutch players that this league has to offer. Like, this is ridiculous, man. What we're seeing for the Knicks, I'm telling you, and I guarantee you, that loss, that's going to be demoralizing. That's going to haunt this Cavs locker room, even going into tonight, because now they understand there's an urgency that they cannot take their foot off the gas for a minute, because you just came back from 22 points, but we had to have at least a 30-point lead just to feel like we may be comfortable. All of a sudden, things get rattled, and every run that the Knicks do afterwards in this series is going to be a fear factor for Cleveland, because now, oh my gosh, the avalanche is starting again. What? I guarantee you, there's going to be some. If the second, what I guarantee you, you're going to see Cleveland every time New York gets on a run, potentially of over 5+ points without a bucket, you're going to call a timeout immediately. Immediately. They're going to try to stifle any form of moving, rolling momentum against New York. Because now they know, yeah, this team, they can run away with it. Mind you, it was a 44-10 run to end the game for New York. 44 points scored for New York to 10 for Cleveland. That's how much rolling thunder they garnered in that, and going into the fourth quarter and ultimately in the fourth quarter. This Knicks team, but I believe they can make it. Let me see. It's cool they make the finals, but they're not beating the Thunder and Spurs. And granted, I completely agree. They're not winning. Now, part of me says I wish they would win, because if they win, my gosh, every one of the greatest, the city would, just getting to the finals, the city would be non-existent. If they did win the finals, but the New York Knicks, they'll travel down to Philly and they'll burn up Philly. Why? Just because we won, we can do what we want. They will try to. It will be like It'll be like a Roman takeover. They'll just go from city to city, just burning places down and conquering the entire United States until everything's just New York. That's how much pandemonium will come out of this city if they win. And I want to see that. I'm not going to lie. I want to see that. That would be ridiculous to witness. And beating any of them now, specifically the Spurs, may be the only opportunity. It might be. It's not just that they need to win if they got to the finals. They got to win. They have to. Because if they don't beat Victor Wembanyama, the Spurs specifically, they don't beat Victor Wembanyama now. If Victor is the one to come out to get to the finals, there's no shot that they're ever going to, there's no shot that they'll ever beat him again. Same thing with OKC. See, here's the problem that you have to recognize. This clock isn't a clock just for, OKC is young and they can win. This is a clock for the league to stop the Spurs while they can. Because I compare this, and I'm not trying to make this overblown. I compare this to LeBron's early years in the NBA. But instead of, this is what it would look like if LeBron didn't get drafted by Cleveland and got drafted by the Spurs or LA or a competent franchise that made moves early to build a roster around them, instead of doing what Dan Gilbert did and other owners or ownership at that point in time did for Cleveland, which was signing J.J. Hickson and old Ben Wallace and old Shaquille O'Neal, not Gary Russell. I'm sorry, not Gary Antoine Russell, Antoine Jameson, and having his best running mates for the majority of his first stint in Cleveland be Big Z, Jonas Ilgauskas, who I love, and Larry Hughes. That's it. That's terrible. In 3 years that Wemby's been with the Spurs, he got more help drafting and legitimately picking up free agents, trading, than LeBron had in his entire first stint in Cleveland. And what we're seeing from Wemby now would have been what we would have seen from LeBron if he had had the roster built as early as we saw them make the roster built for Wembanyama, which is good. This is good because you see what his talent is doing for this team. And because they started out early and got right early with Wemby, this is going to be the last chance most people are going to have to beat Wemby to get to a title, as you can be favored against him, because now he's going to grow with this team and the team's going to grow with him, and ultimately this is going to be the worst that he will ever be. And that's going to be something that nobody can stop. This is going to be the worst that Victor Wembanyama is going to be. And potentially this is going to be the worst. And even if the team around him gets worse, but still relatively competitive, his individual elevation will make it so that it will still work regardless. Because this team is not better than OKC as a complete unit. But with Wemby on the floor, you see what they're doing against him. 6-0 runs, 8-2 runs, blocking shots and covering the paint, making it so that offensively they're able to do whatever they need to, hitting clutch shots, being the main focus of defense. Last game, they had 4 people crowding around Wembanyama off the ball for a possession. What the world? That's the type of gravity and his ability that will only get better from here. Mark my words. The Knicks, Cleveland, OKC, Houston, LA, Memphis, Nuggets, doesn't matter who. This is your last shot at stopping Victor Wembanyama from being not just the best player in the world, but being the favorite for the finals. I strongly believe. Because after this, it's going to be done. Not only will the MVP most likely be his next year, But every award afterwards, most likely is going to be his, including Finals MVP. Because once he gets, after this season with the pitfalls that are few, that he does have, when he fixes them, that's going to be a problem. Oh, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real problem. Let me see. If OKC beats the Spurs, will we require again like he did when he lost the Olympics to check? No, he will. He absolutely will. And see, that's not a problem because there's been for some reason, the emotional appeal of a player has now been don't care, be nonchalant, and all that stuff. Wemby's already said straight up, I'm not going to be one to hide my emotions about how I feel when stuff goes how it goes because I'm passionate about the game. We loved when people cried and showed like fervor. Kevin Garnett crying to his old coach in an interview because he was tired of losing and he felt like he was letting his team down. One of the most beautiful moments that led to him becoming a champion later on. Michael Jordan crying in the locker room. Kobe Bryant yelling and screaming. All that stuff. Perfect. Beautiful. We loved it. Giannis crying when he won in 2021. Perfect. Even in defeat, being emotional. Joel Embiid. Now, to that respect, people didn't love that. They clowned him for it. But why? Because, you shouldn't be mad about anything. You know, hide away how you feel in some regards. And I'm not saying you need to go through and put your emotions in the face of everybody, but it's okay to feel how you feel in the moment. And we shouldn't be chastising when a player, my gosh, oh man, I'm hurt and I'm crying. Or I'm excited and I'm crying. I'm not going to try to put on a facade, brother. This is what that's what makes for the beauty of the sport. The thrill of winning and the agony of defeat. The duality of man in one moment that paints the almost one of the fullest pictures of what humanity is and what life represents. The highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and all of which that can culminate at the same time. It's beautiful. Even in its tragedy. I hope he does. Because I want him to, because with Kobe would have done the same thing. Kobe tore up his whole locker room when he couldn't guard the likes of AI. That brother, that iconic shot of him in the bathroom with the title that we saw Jason Tatum terribly try to create. Yeah, that was because of the weight lifted off of his shoulders. That was a humbling moment of, my gosh, I did it. Oh my goodness. Losing yourself. We want that. And we want Wemby to be loud. To be raw. From elbowing stinking, who was it, Lou Dort? Or one of the players of OKC? No, again, he shouldn't have elbowed him. But back in the day, old heads would have said, yeah, that's what you should do. Get off of me type of situation. Don't forget, we got video of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar completely socking somebody on the Trailblazers back in the day on the Lakers with a long straight right. I'm talking about smooth. Got elbowed in the kidney, doubled over, got back up, went back to go and post up, created some space. Crazy enough, created some space with his lead hand to get some distance and disguise what he was going to do, and then came across with a shot. Boom. Straight on the eye. We had Daryl Dawkins squaring up in the finals with a chain on, and people said that was real basketball. Y'all show highlights of people of the bad boy Pistons. This is real basketball, but then you say, y'all doing too much now. That's the old gen, new gen mentality of hypocrisy to some degree. and then showing the emotion. We used to care back in the day, and now y'all don't care. But then you're going to clown, not saying you are, but I'm saying people will clown other players for showing emotion, crying, being dogmatic in their feelings about what's going on. And now it's like, well, what do you want? And I say, let the tears flow. Feel how you feel. Lose yourself. Because that type of passion is why you got where you got. Without that, you wouldn't have been the player that you were. That's why you see me, but I'm as unbiased. I try to be as unbiased as I can be for you all, but I'm passionate. I try to be as passionate as I can about what I talk about. Not just because I want to entertain you all, but I would not be able to be what I am if I wasn't lost in the moment of what I'm seeing and what I'm living, what I'm witnessing, all that stuff. The agony, the shock. Making things a big deal because it is a big deal. Saying, oh, it's going to be a good fight. No, it's going to be a great fight. The history, the grandeur, the stakes that are at play, all of this, the idea of what can happen with one single punch or one single bucket that can change the entire story of how people view this specific moment in time. But you can't help but be on the edge of your seat because what the world can happen. Why would you not be so enthralled? Yeah, I'm loud. Yeah, I'm proud. Well, I'm proud. I'm not prideful, but I'm proud. And yes, I got energy for days. Apparently, I don't know how, but I'm able to do it. The Lord willing, I can do this for a long time. But it's all because, but I love this stuff. I love this. Being on here with you all. Seeing your chats. Occasionally seeing money come through. And again, if you want to send some money, hey, Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, super chats and whatnot. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, if you know what I'm saying. But like, I love this because this is what makes the sport so beautiful. Because of the passion. So you doggone right. I want players to feel how they feel and let it show. Let it show. Because you earn the right to show it. If you're sad to cry because you lost, you earn the right to cry because everybody else that was around you didn't even get to this point. If you losing yourself because you won, you won. Lose yourself in a moment. Forget being cool. Shed some tears. Hug your family. Kiss people on the cheek. Do whatever you got to do. That, again, within the realm of, again, without invading people's privacy, you know what I'm saying? But like, don't let the public tell you how you should act like you've been there before. I'm here now. And guess what? If I get here again, I'm going to act the same way. Because I love this. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? That's the thing, who wouldn't? But let me keep on reading what you got to say. Let me see. What did you think of, Pill Out, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on our live stream today. Let me see what you got to say. What did you think of that Cavalier choke job game one? The coach, that coach let James Harden get cooked. Yo, he did. No, what was it, Kenny Atkinson? Yeah, man, no, that was terrible. That was horrible. We talked about it with the Knicks, and they came back from 22 points to win, 44 to 10 run that they had to end off the game, which is ridiculous. But Jalen Brunson had 38 points and hit daggers left, right, and center to tie the game, seal the game, and win the game. Phenomenal game as a whole. Had the whole city buzzing to this day. Can't wait to see what game 2 is going to look like. But, yeah, no, Kenny Atkinson, he sold. Kenny Atkinson, I believe that's his name, sold on his game plan and letting James Harden, not calling out a switch, not putting in a different assignment, not shoot doubling, instead just leaving him on the island. But it was just ridiculous. That was terrible. That was terrible. If he makes that same mistake in game 2, we're about to have some major problems. We're about to have some huge problems, because I guarantee you, Cleveland now never feels safe because of what happened in game 1. They don't feel safe about just being able to keep a lead. and stopping momentum is going to be their first MO. And they better not let James Harden get cooked like he got cooked last time. They better not. They better call out and hunt whatever Harden is who's guarding, and switch that immediately. Disguise him. You have to. You have to. You got to, man. Because if you don't, like, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really bad. How does the coach let the league go from 22 to 5 without calling a timeout? Yeah, man. Like, I don't get it. Once that lead got down to 15, it should have been a timeout immediately. The fact that you let the ball roll, even if it was the fourth quarter, the fact that you let the ball continue to fall through the hoop without you even insinuating stopping any momentum was one of the strangest things I've ever seen. Insane. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And if they lose this series, it's going to be because of that one instance. We're going to look back and say that's what cost them. You, not only did you let them come back, you just showed the Knicks the ultimate ability of what they're capable of. There is no lead safe now, and the Knicks know that. And the crowd knows that. So you're about to be in for, it's going to be a problem that you have to deal with for the entirety of this series. That they believe. They believe. They believe in a sense that we can do the impossible. And you let them have that belief. It's insane. Let me see. Truth, how you doing, Truth? Good to see you. We appreciate your honesty. Like I said, we're getting ready to end off the show. We're almost over time, so we do got to make sure we end off the show to make sure we're ready for tomorrow afternoon, so we don't go too far along. But we still want to hear your thoughts and opinions because it is still the championship rounds that we're discussing right now. Let me see. Rico going night. Did you see him shadow boxing? Oh yeah, he's going to sleep. It's not even close. He's getting knocked out. I say he's getting knocked out in 4 because Usyk is going to have some fun early on, and then he's going to put him to sleep. Plain and simple. This should not and will not be competitive. It's going to be regular destruction. They'll play around a little, and then Usyk will go and end it because there's still world titles on the line. This is a legit world championship fight, which shouldn't be, but it is, for the lineal and WBC titles, and I think unified as a whole. So yeah, Usyk, this fight is as serious as any other one. So he gonna put him out. He absolutely gonna put him out. If I was a player, I would have been called timeout. If the coach hadn't, by the time the league was cut to 10. I mean, yeah, like the coach has the ultimate trust of you are gonna be the one to dictate when or what we need to do. It could have been that Kenny was saying we're not gonna call timeout. That could have been one of the identity factors of that team. Hey, look, we're up 22. We're not going to panic and call timeout just because somebody makes you run. We're going to play this through, and we're going to quell the storm in the flow of the game, and we're going to stop what we need to stop. For some coaches, that is the mentality. We're not going to waste timeouts because we get scared that somebody's getting a little bit of momentum. We're the better team. We're going to come back, and we're going to do what we do best, which is win. We're not going to give in to, they have momentum. No. You have a run, but we still control the game. That could be what Kenny had instilled into his team. Some coaches do think like that. He better not think like that in game 2. That's all I can say. He better not think like that in game 2. Because if he thinks like that in game 2, well, it's going to be another repeat. It's going to be another repeat. And don't let it be that it's on the other end of the spectrum. Well, he's not calling timeout when the Knicks are up and they get on a run. Because I guarantee you, Cleveland, I don't know if they're capable of having that same comeback ability as what we saw with the Knicks. Donovan Mitchell is, but the rest of that unit, I'm not exactly sure. Because it was Jalen Brunson leading the charge, but everybody else had a big helping hand. I don't know if Cleveland, though they are on paper a very skilled team, and they should be deserved. I don't know if they have the same capacity. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout situation on their end, but If it does come down to it, it could be bad. Let me see. I think the Cavs are be too devastated mentally to recover from this. Sometimes people get too stuck on what should have or could have happened, and they lose confidence going forward. So, I agree with that. Some people don't know how to move on from devastation mentally, and that is true. Now, granted, this happened game one. And this isn't like the finals with LeBron when he put up 51, 8-8 on 58% shooting from the field and almost 50% from three. And they lost because of two missed free throws by George Hill, which I still hate to this day, and the ultimate blunder of J.R. Smith forgetting the time on the clock and forgetting he had a timeout. Those two instances when you could have won and you lost, that's different. This wasn't that. Because thankfully, this was game one of a series where, okay, we had them up severely. We just folded in a way that was diabolical. But during the regular season and with how we've been able to play this playoffs, we can get up like that again. We can. And Donovan Mitchell was one of the toughest mentally driven players that we have in this league. I'm talking about from his days in Utah to now. That but has been, I've rarely seen an instance where he's come up short as a performer in the playoffs, individually. He is not, and if he's able to keep his cool, the rest of the team will fall behind. Doesn't guarantee victory, but losing themselves in the moment, I don't think they'll struggle with that. Because Mitchell isn't going to struggle with that. That's why I don't think this is going to have the same effect of, they're demoralized beyond repair. Because watch, you'll probably see a still playing composed type manner in this series. Now, I'm going to say, if they lose game two, now you should start being worried. If they lose game two, now you should start being worried that loss is going to eat away. Because you have a chance to recover and prepare and put yourself in the same position at away for the second time. And you're capable of doing it. But if you lose this game in any manner, now the eating away at the psyche because you lost that one game that you should have won, that's going to be problematic. That's going to hurt. And I say that because this being different from what happened with LeBron in Cleveland, that's because the stakes of that game with LeBron versus this game in New York, a little bit different. It was supposed to be that the Cleveland was going to get swept that series. But if they took game one against the Warriors at that point in time, that was the shot in arm that they needed. And they didn't even think they would get that close to winning. And to do all that work just to have that thrown away, we ain't got a shot now. But on the flip side of the spectrum, Cleveland, they lost. But it's not at the same demoralizing sentiment of, oh my gosh, we did all this work and we were seconds away. We folded in an uncanny manner in the fourth quarter that normally we're able to thrive in. We just can't be that stupid again. But we can definitely beat this team. Because we weren't winning by the skin of our teeth. We were running away with this game. We just need to get back to that same position to hold our lead. That's the thing. And so so because of that, I think they can still come back. But if they lose game two, now we should be concerned. Let me see. I think James might be gone mentally already after listening to the media the last 2 days. Now, I haven't heard LeBron in the most recent interview with him on the Mind the Game podcast and what he said with Steve Nash and all that stuff. He is prepping for retirement. Be clear. He is going to retire almost assuredly after next season. He might sign with Cleveland to end his career at home, where he started his career, for one last shot. They're built for a title. They have the weapons and tools. I think they got space on the roster. And they can take a pay cut and still keep all the other assets. And now with him being a second option on that team, just like he was with Luka, it worked out flawlessly there. It can work out again, and he can. And ain't no question he can run into the role of being a second or third option and be just fine. Yeah, he can. And then go back into a first option. He outplayed the MVP in SGA that series. He did. So that's not a question. It's simply, where will he go? Because he's accepted that he's almost done. But he's still playing as a top 15 player. Where on any team that he goes on, all of a sudden the expectation is they can make a deep run, and can you get to the finals? It shouldn't be that for anybody 41 going on 42 years old, playing, if he plays next season, 24 years in the league. It shouldn't be that. But LeBron is the anomaly because of his production has shown, yeah, I'm still that guy. So he still is wanting to win. But the chips fall where they may. It's just a matter of where he's going to go. And this season, it probably would have been, if Luka was healthy this year, I guarantee you, the way that they were playing against OKC, yeah, they might have been able to actually get in the upset if they were actually healthy. Instead of it being, we were close, 3 quarters, then we just kept getting pulled away because we didn't have the offensive firepower. Even though defensively we were holding SGA to one of the worst playoff performances of this year in his MVP level season. And the Spurs are taking what LA did and applying it to OKC. That's why they were able to win. And that's why they're still keeping SGA under wraps. The game plan's there, just the bodies weren't there. But the team with Luka could have been a whole different story. He's not mentally checked out. It's just a matter of mentally, where is he thinking? Because wherever he wants to go, he wants to vie for a title. Can he rely on Luka and the rest of that team right now with Rui Hachimura, if they re-sign him, with Austin Reeves, if they re-sign him, to still compete for a championship and be healthy all into the playoffs so that he can take that backseat role and still be able to do what he needs to do? Or will he go one last year with Cleveland, Philadelphia, or who knows wherever else, to go where his presence could make a difference in winning a championship? He's already gotten every team in the league calling the front office saying, what are you going to get for him? What is he leaving? Is he staying? And all that stuff. So if you don't, even if you don't think LeBron is bought in on he doesn't really want to win, the front offices of about every other team are calling LA. This is actually reported. Because they believe they're a LeBron piece away from getting to the finals. Because he's been playing that good. And he was relatively healthy the whole of the year. And we saw what he was able to do as a second or third option and still go back to the role of a first option in LA. He can do that with other teams, and all of a sudden that whole makeup looks completely different. Now we're sitting back saying, oh my. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things go through. But we'll see how it pans out as the days go on, and we'll definitely touch on Friday afternoon, because we got to get out of here and end this show off with a bang, because we're not going 3 hours. We got to end this show in our normal time slot in under 3 hours and give you all a chance to enjoy the rest of your day. So ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you tuning in on our show. We love and appreciate all of you who are here joining us on our live stream, and we got to get out of here. So with all of that being said, this has been another episode of The Watchable with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Salute to you, and we thank you all for tuning in on our show today. Hopefully you enjoyed our live stream. Hopefully you enjoyed our show, and we made your life a little bit better, made yourself a little bit more entertaining, and made you enjoy your day just a little bit more. And hopefully you love the conversation, and you'll want to come back on Friday, where the whole show is championship rounds. Same time, same place, same channel, where you all control the whole of our conversation and where we go all day long tomorrow afternoon. If you want to support this channel, we got Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description. super chat, super gift, stickers, and the like. If you can support the show, it would mean the world to me. Helps me to pay the bills and helps us to go through and make this show better, bigger, and stronger for your viewing and listening pleasure. Leave a like on the video before you leave our stream. Keep on commenting your thoughts and opinions on what you like or didn't like about the show in the chat so we can keep on making the show better for you all. Hit the notification bell so you can know whenever we post right here on YouTube, and you can keep up with everything that we have for updates on this channel. Subscribe and join the empire once again if you have not already, and please be sure to share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together and making the show the best that it can be for you all across the world. We appreciate you joining in on our live stream, and we love you all, and we appreciate you. Thank you to everybody who tuned in on our chat, as you can see in the end credit scene, and we appreciate all of your support coming in and being a part of our show. We're gonna come back on Friday, same time, same place, same channel, with a whole host of topics and discussion that we can't wait to talk about with you all on our show tomorrow afternoon. But I've been, top 5 chatters for the show. Number 1 was Legendary Super Saiyan as the most active chatter for our stream today. Number 2 was Matt Borgeson. Number 3 was Johnny Blaze. Number 4 for our pound for pound chatters on the day, as you can see at the bottom of the ticker, was Peel Out. And number 5, rounding out the top 5 pound for pound chatters on our live stream today, was Ryan. Ryan from the 6. Hey, but congratulations on your top 5 rankings. Can you retain it coming in on tomorrow afternoon? We're going to find out. We're going to end off this show. I've been Jean-Luc Welch. You all have been absolutely wonderful. Be safe, be blessed, peace, and love. Oh, we are out of here. Yes, sir. Salute to you. We're going to see you all on Friday afternoon. We can't wait to join you all for more fun and excitement on our show tomorrow. Be here for more topics and conversation. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be sure to watch the Knicks and Cavs playing tonight at 8 o'clock. And hey, salute to you. Be blessed and be safe. We are out of here.